We might wait. No, maybe.
Yes.
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 Yeah. All right. We're live. I guess my Twitch thing was broken. Welcome to AllChatPod episode 25. We're here with Marcos
Good evening.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did we come across Marcos again?
I came across Marcos because of a tweet that someone I followed like retweeted or liked or something. It was did you see the picture, Kendall? I sent the meme. The new cut just dropped.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the new guy just dropped memes.
It's a funny meme.
So I'm always trying to do my best to like become the new guy. And so I was getting my haircut by my girlfriend. Like by haircut, I mean like she was literally just shaving my head. And I was like, yo, stop. Take a picture. And she took a picture and then I posted it on Twitter. Like it was mid haircut. Like my shit was all fucked up. And I was like, yo, new cut just dropped. And then anybody that came to like talk anything about it, like, you know, any kind of shit or anything, the moment they said anything about it, I just instantly responded with like, yeah, it's hard being beautiful, dog. Like it's rough.
I really like
Honestly.
that got me to follow you, and we're here today.
Yeah, it's cool. I was checking out your podcast. Your podcast is very conversational. I also have a podcast. I'm gonna plug myself because I'm a fucking
pimp it.
whore.
Send it, absolutely.
Yeah, so I have a podcast called The AinterShow. I'm available on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and I'm constantly talking shit on Twitter at AinterShow. It's the same kind of vibe where it's just homies hanging out and talking shit. And when he's like, "Hey, come on my pod," that kind of energy, I was there. I don't need. Yeah. So.
I think that's the best way to do it. That's how we got. I'm really proud of our first guest ever. He was the moderator of the Inspector Gadget subreddit. And he's the only guy on there. Like he posts an Inspector Gadget picture every single day. And but when we did it, like I don't know how many months ago, the only other post was like 9 months before that. And for those 9 months with no other interaction, he posts every single day on there.
Dude, yeah. I love that kind of shit. That kind of like internet schizophrenia that only like, very few people can like master. And then like so I did it backwards because I started a podcast before anyone knew who the fuck I was, which is the opposite way to do it. Because apparently well, I love that. I love that energy, right? Because what happens is like tons of people, most of the people that I know, I actually had a really huge Twitter account a few like I want to say like almost 8 months ago, and I blew it up on purpose, but I blew it up and I'm like starting back from scratch. But when I had the big pod or the big not the pod, when I had the big account, people were like, "Oh, your podcast is so funny. When did you start posting?" I'm like, "Oh, before I actually had any followers on Twitter, I had a podcast." And they were like, "Wait." And I'm like, "Yeah, for the first like 8 months of the podcast, I was literally posting every single Sunday with like 2 listens." And I just do not care.
That's us right now.
That's the move, man. That's the move.
That is, because persistence is what pays off. It does. Your quality does not actually ever need to improve. It's just you have to keep doing it, and eventually your backlog will. Yeah, your backlog will prove that you're in this shit to win this shit.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to like be a year into it before I like. I honestly don't even pimp it that much. I mean, I don't have like a following on Twitter really, but like I want to have like a good backlog. Be like, yeah, we're doing it because we enjoy doing it, not because of
exactly. That's how
we're not chasing clout.
For the love of the game, But also, it's okay to chase clout. In my humble opinion, chasing clout is the only reason. There's like a clout economy currently going on, like a parallel clout economy. And anyone telling you differently is literally trying to get you to join their cult. So like I'm not with that mess. Clout is good. Clout is a good thing. People need more clout. And once you get clout, you have to redistribute your clout to all your homies.
Exactly.
Yes.
The way it goes. Like once you like go up, you help out your friends a little bit, you know?
Yeah. If you got a homie that does music, that's your guy who does the intro for all of your podcasts now. Yep. Right? Like if you got homies that do like art, congrats, if you get a little bit of cash thrown your way.
That's how we start. I do music stuff and Kendall does art stuff. So
sick.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. So I do thumbnails. He does the intro.
That's perfect.
We need
right
to
there.
record a new intro. We're introless. We've been introless for a while, but
Yeah, we get some
Kyle joined
solid.
as a host. We haven't made a new intro yet.
Nice.
We're
I
too
do
busy playing Halo.
I do music too.
Nice.
I make music. It's bad. I try to be like a SoundCloud rapper when I first started, I think.
Okay.
And I took myself too serious, but not in not in a way where I was like producing serious music, but in a way where I was like doing my best to absolutely alienate everybody. To like make like my whole music vibe was to try and scare the hoes on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like the entire vibe of my sound. So I think that approach of taking it taking myself not seriously is the best way to describe it. And that shit, I don't know what to do. Like I have like all the Spotify shit, I have all this music out there, and every now and then someone will like, click the right things and then eventually find my music, and they'll be like, "Hey, quick question. What the fuck?" Right?
Why is this horrifying?
Yeah, what is this? And I'm like, "Yo, my bad. I was going through some things,
I don't know. Micah likes scary music.
Oh yeah, you might.
Kendall can't listen to the same music I listen to like recreationally.
Yeah,
he can't handle it.
It's too much. It's too much, man. Like I need like music that I can like just chill out to. But if there's like too much going on, I get like anxious. I don't know. I'm weird.
The more aggressive, the more emotional.
Do you fuck with like noise music at all?
I've been actually fucking with noise music a little bit more in the last. Well, is it April now? Fuck, like 4 months now. Ever since like the end of 2020, like end of December, I've like actually been getting significantly more into noise music and appreciating it like way differently than I did before.
Yeah, there's a shout out to a dude named Filmmaker. I don't know if you listen to Filmmaker. Filmmaker's not really noise, but it's like cool. Whoa.
Mario, my roommate's cooking and he just set off the fire alarm.
Dang.
What a champ, dude. What a champ.
Solid. No, so my top recommendation for like if you kind of want to understand the kind of music that I listen to, I only listen to two kinds of things, and that's like who is it? Ankle Pants. Right? If you ever get a chance to look up Ankle Pants and want to ruin
Ankle Pants.
Yeah, he's not safe for anything. He's not safe for life. Right?
I mean,
like,
me neither.
Yeah, no, I mean like I'm saying, if you're streaming this on Twitch, don't pull it up because you will. Like that shit is bad.
Yeah, no,
right?
We're careful on stream, but off stream, all.
Yeah. So Ankle Pants is like my one recommendation. I love Ankle Pants, but on the flip side of that, I'm also like always listening to like really old school. Like what's this? Oh man, I can't remember their name, and it's gonna drive me crazy. Oh, like Jodeci, and like Erykah Badu. So like my brain is fucked up. Because I'll be listening to like R&B love songs and shit, and then like the next song in the playlist will be like, "What if it had a dick?" Right? Like that's it, and that's it. That's all I listen to.
Oh fuck yeah, dude!
That's sweet.
Just two extremes.
Yeah.
Do you produce for yourself?
Yeah, I do. I do all my music production, my own lyrics. I think my first couple songs that I actually released, I literally just stole fly low beats and I tried to rap over them as fast as like in like the most. It was actually, I feel like, and I know this isn't true at all because it developed way differently, but I was putting out Young Thug shit before, I was putting out Young Thug shit before Young Thug was a thing. I low key feel like he might have like heard my shit on SoundCloud and was like, I'm doing that. But I don't. But yeah, I was doing that. If you go and like I'll send you some like I have a playlist called. I have a playlist called like fucking vibe, please. Like please fucking vibe. And it's all of like it's my best hits. But yeah, music. What do you produce? What do you use to produce?
Ableton.
I'm a FL Studios kid.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask you. That's what I always want. That's my first question is, what's your DAW?
Yeah, it's FL. You know why it's FL? Because the free shit. I had that free shit on lock. And I was the master. FL Studios, I've been on FL Studios for so long that back in the day when I first got FL Studios, they had this, like, you couldn't record, so you could record only 3 times in one single song session, and then you can only export it after that.
Oh, okay.
So you only have 3 records, like you can only hit the record button 3 times.
That's kind of like a great limitation, though.
Yeah, so I got hella good at making beats like instantly, like do 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 do, and then it was just that, and then the third record, it had to be good or it was garbage. So I started doing that. I had to do one take songs. So all of my shit on SoundCloud is like one take songs.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I started producing like what 2-3 years ago, so I'm more recently.
No, I mean, I don't have any understanding of music, right?
Oh, me
like
neither.
at all. Yeah.
I don't know music theory or anything.
No, nothing. And I think that makes me better at music than people who study. Right? Like
it's all about the ears.
Well, I think about it like this, right? It's more impressive to hear a guy like go work for the CIA as a like Chinese translator, but like he doesn't even speak Chinese. That's way more impressive to me than a guy who goes to school to be like, you know what I'm saying, and like wants his whole life. That the guy who just like I've been faking it this whole time, dog. I don't even know what they're saying. That guy is more impressive to me.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah,
that's how I've been feeling. I mean, I've never ever taken like any. I've taken like one college art class, which is actually. I mean, it's helpful actually if you're like really looking to like improve your skill faster. I should say having like that guidance is helpful for sure. But going self-taught is really not that bad at all. Like it's awesome. It's like you're having fun and you're learning like a ton.
I think you create your own style. You know, like you're not emulating someone else's.
Yeah, you don't emulate anybody else. It's all like your creative juices. I mean, yeah.
There's like not emulation, but like inspiration, I guess.
Yeah, I was explaining the homie, like the homie podcast. So the podcast that I have has this like subculture of people that I'm gonna shout them out, the homies, which is like, so we have a Discord and everything, and it's like a big group of fans and just people that have like interacted with me on Twitter, and they just fuck with me, right? And they fuck with the whole podcast situation. We're like we have like an ideological identity, and one of the ones that we talk about all the time in like the homie Discord is how like any kind of IP is a scam. Like we just straight up do not believe in IP.
Like intellectual property?
Yeah, straight up. Like it's all of it is fake, right? Like copying is not anyone should, and it's good to copy people. It's good to like bite off people.
Yeah, I think it's silly too.
Yeah, I think especially like even in art, and I get hate for this a lot of times, like especially like people who are like established artists, but like people get mad at me because I think that, in my opinion, the people who learn to draw and continue to draw even like after, like with no real incentive, are people who are always copying. What I mean by that is like if you were a kid, like for me, I started drawing Dragon Ball.
That's like when you said that, that's the first thing that comes to my head, because my dad like took away Dragon Ball as a kid. He's like, this shit's too violent when I was like 6 watching it or something.
Oh my God, I got a story about that, but go ahead.
I know, like when you said that, like people were always copying. I'm like 6 images of different kids throughout public school. I'm like, yeah. Just sitting there drawing Dragon Ball.
Drawing Vegeta and shit, like flexing for no reason. Yeah. That's what I did. Yeah. Yeah, that shit. Like that is straight up copying, and even like if you're tracing out of the book, you're still learning the line, like the actual. You're forming in your brain the ability to fucking draw.
Just don't trace and then try to pass it off as your own.
Yeah, of course.
That's where I have issue with. Where you're making money off of other people's hard work. Nah. Yeah, you can't do that.
What I mean, and what I get by like IP is a scam, is what I mean. Like when people draw their own characters, right? Yeah. And then they get super weird about them.
Yeah, right? Dude, I know like a billion of those people. Yeah, I'm part of like the anime / like hentai art community. Yeah, I know a fucking billion. And you draw like one of their characters, like one thing little wrong, they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, they're just freaked out, and I'm like, "Nah." In my opinion,
dude, chill the fuck out. It's totally fake.
It's beyond fake, and in like even the bigger shit of like, you know, like Mickey Mouse and fucking Simba and all that shit. I want to draw Simba beating the absolute shit out of fucking like, you know, like Uncle Sam or something. I should be able to do that and sell it on a T-shirt and make money off of that, right? Like that should be my prerogative.
Yeah. I think you technically could.
No, you can't. Disney will come through for that ass, bro. They do not fuck around with their IP.
Just say it's not Simba. It's the lion.
It's Simba.
Simba.
Yeah, what's Simba, dude?
What happened with Mickey Mouse? They like changed copyright laws forever, right?
Yeah, like
no,
they really did. Mickey Mouse
to keep him. Because is he ever going to be public domain?
I think it's called like, what is it, perpetuity? There's a word in a law for it. It's like perpetuity throughout the universe, which means they own the image into perpetuity throughout the universe is I think the actual literal legalese phrasing of that. And what that means is like, the wildness of this is that means that if we go on Mars, right, we get to Mars, we get to Venus, we're doing the cloud base in Venus, Disney will still own on the planet Venus Mickey Mouse because it's throughout the universe. Like
But
literally they own it. Like they own. So like people are, it's weird to me where like we live in a world now where like most people can't get healthcare, but like major corporations are already thinking about laws on like in a different planet. You know what I'm saying? Like
Too much. Yeah, exactly.
I hate the like outwards planet like type mindset where it's like, oh yeah, we'll just go somewhere else. It's like, can we just stop fucking up what we have? And
no, when people say that shit, when they talk about like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to space, I'm like, you're leaving me behind. Like specifically Mexican people are gonna be left behind. Think about it like this: the one Latino person in all of like sci-fi up until recently was Chewie, was Chewbacca. That's fucked up, dude. Like it was him.
No, here's how it's gonna go, man. We're gonna set up a colony on Mars or whatever next planet we do. Just only white people allowed.
Rich,
and then
like just billionaires.
Kind of like farm shit. And we're gonna do work permits for Mexicans.
They're gonna ship us on the most rickety, like it's a Chevy, it's a space Chevy.
Exactly. No, I want all the billionaires to go to Mars.
Yeah, fucking let them go.
No, I'm telling you, like, there is no such thing as like Latino futurism, right? Like, it just doesn't exist. There's no like space. There's like Afrofuturism. There's like a Pan Asian futurism, which is always actually considered
Neo-Tokyo.
Yeah, but all that shit is always considered like dystopian.
If
you think about it, it's hella racist when you think about it. Like anytime you think of a dystopian future, it's always Asian for some reason.
Yeah,
dude, Cyberpunk 2020, yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
2027.
Like so, it's that's like that's just straight.
I don't have
racism.
Futurism either, though. Is there Jewish futurism? I think that's just like Nazis' fears, right? Just what Nazis are afraid of is Nazi futurism.
Jewish futurism is like actually isn't the Matrix Jewish futurism? Aren't the Wachowskis Jewish, or am I? Yeah,
they probably are.
Based on that last name.
Yeah,
but like it's not about Jewish people. The Matrix.
No, but it's very like
Jews in any like. I also
Mel Brooks. Hey, Mel Brooks did Spaceballs, which if you want to get.
There's definitely space Jews in Spaceballs. There's a lot of space Jews. Yeah, never mind. All right, you're right. Then it is just.
But to clarify for earlier, Disney has the copyright on Mickey Mouse, the Steamboat Willie, Willie, like the very first creation. Or like iteration of Mickey Mouse will enter public domain on January 2024, and then once that happens, Disney will no longer own the exclusive rights to. Hold up, there's like a list of 5 things that they no longer have like all the rights to. So they can't. They're the only ones until 2024 that can reproduce copies, create derivative works, distribute copies, publicly perform the work, and publicly display the work, and like any sort of digital transmission of said work.
Mm-hmm.
But Steamboat Willie,
yeah,
not Mickey Mouse
is not up for copyright redistribution yet, man. No one's talking about it.
So we can. I was thinking like. Maybe Elitches can get Steamboat Willie like running around.
Well, so how they do that is they redefine what Mickey Mouse is. So they'll be like, hey, the Mickey Mouse that you're thinking of is actually an iteration that was released in 2027 that we haven't come out with yet, right? Like they'll do that kind of shit. They'll keep moving the goalpost forward.
Yep.
Steamboat Willie, they could give a shit about that. No one, you know what I mean? No one cares about that.
And it's still 3 years to go. It's still 3 years to go. But like when it comes out, that will be public domain. But Mickey Mouse, any iteration of the Disney mouse in color is still completely off limits. Mm-hmm. It only applies for monochrome. And you think about that and you're like, you billionaire ass company like Disney, like that's some petty shit. Like, I mean, whatever, do you? But like, wow. I can't believe that like that's that big of a deal to you.
I have a wild conspiracy theory about Disney, and that they're straight up like doing.
Wait, hold up. Yeah. Is it anti-Semitic?
No. Okay, perfect. None of my conspiracy theories are like racist or anti-Semitic.
There you go. That's because what makes it okay. Those are okay conspiracy theories.
Look, I'm the Alex Jones of the left, right?
Yes,
that's literally how. So I don't vet anything at all. I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. But I'm happy to talk about some shit that I think may or may not be it. But I always preference it with like
that's like that's actually like something that we need in Alex Jones of the left. Where is he? Yeah. It's you. Where are you?
It's me. I'm here. I'm right here. I'm doing it.
Get louder. You're too quiet right now. You're not yelling loud enough. And you got to get way redder. You got to get
get
the grizzly voice going.
No, here's the thing, right? Here's what we're gonna do. No, I can't do it because I want to say racist stuff when I do that.
I haven't.
So I can't do it. It's hard.
You're turning the freaking god.
Yeah.
What is it? You can I have an excellent recipe for some vegan bone broth if you want to sell that too.
So
you trick them, man.
I've got this vegan bone broth.
You're wondering yourself, where do vegans get? Well, we get the bones of vegans. That's how we do it. So anyways, my theory.
Try my tofu neck thickening agent.
There you go.
That's soy neck. If you want a soy neck like me,
DM please.
No, I think that Disney is doing real legit chaos magic, and they're doing it. They're essentially working for the CIA, and they're doing shit to essentially like they're working on psyops. Essentially, they work on psychological operations to whitewash, or not whitewash, but to like, I guess, what is it called?
I don't know, like
launder.
Like family friendly.
Yeah, they're laundering the reputations of government agencies that are bad, right? And they're doing it through Marvel movies, right? So that's one part of it. Like, especially like they make the CIA the good guy in in Black Panther, right? Like they made him the good guy. They made him like the adorkable. Like no, that fool. The moment he found out that Africa had a secret weapons facility, he would have instantly been like, "Hey, you know what? We just got to nuke it. Just fuck it. Send it, right? Yeah, we're over this." Yeah. Right? So like that's how it would actually have played out in the movie. But anyways, regardless, I think beyond that though, they're essentially capturing children's dreams. And I know this is where I feel like a crazy person, an actual schizophrenic.
They're capturing children's dreams.
No, go on. I'm super intrigued.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're shaping the future's ability to see, they're essentially removing the myth out of humanity, like this basic introduction that most people have to like a shamanistic pull towards like mythology and myths, and they're essentially buying up all the properties that were myths, like, you know, Marvel and like superhero shit is all like mythology. It's all tied in deeply with mythology, and it's a very human inclination to create these like gods among us and shit, right? And them buying it means that they control a narrative that you don't think about, obvious, that really controls you. You don't think to yourself like, you know, but it shapes the way that you see the world. And if you see like, if you're a normal person who's not like online constantly like me, or like a schizophrenic like me, if you're not a crazy person who doesn't think about this shit all the time, then you don't notice that all of your media is like way more conducive to like, you know, some like a big power structure that you're not part of, right? Like especially like Star Wars movies and shit. A lot of the Star Wars movies are focused on like, you know, getting out into space, exploration. The Empire is bad, but they never explain to you like, you know, why. Like they never really. The Rebel is good, but there's no like real moral quandary as to what they do, or you know what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of black and white, and it totally removes your ability to kind of think constructively about what is good and what is bad. Yeah. There's all kinds of like weird narratives.
It's so black and white in like almost every Disney property.
You always know who the villain is, always know who the hero is, and there's no like gray area to like, oh, like, I mean, what if like we shouldn't be bringing them democracy? What if they don't want to be brought democracy right now? Kind of energy, you know? It's always like,
there's like a real weird fucking like, it's hard to explain, but Disney has always been really weird for me. Like I've never really fucked with Disney because I don't like anyone telling me to be happy or. So first off, actually, I come from a long line of ugly people. So like anyone telling me that ugly is automatically evil just is already
Disney
shut
does
the
that a
fuck
lot.
up.
Yeah,
You don't.
And
Yeah,
hey, man, you look good, man.
No, I'm not saying. Look, I'm fucking gorgeous.
Oh,
all right?
I see what you're saying.
I come from a long line of ugly people.
You got the gorgeous gene.
Yeah, of course. I don't know what everyone's talking about. I'm fucking beautiful, but no. But I think that like it's really difficult. Like this is why I can't talk about like the kind of media and shit that I like and enjoy and indulge in, because everything that I like I super love. But if you came at me and told me like that my favorite things suck, I'd be like, yes, they do. They're awful. Because I don't define myself by my media choices, which I think a lot of adults
a lot of people
in
do.
America can't fucking
a lot of like if they say they don't like your favorite show, like people get offended.
Yeah, and
I don't like
that's Disneyfication, like straight up. That's the media landscape. That's Disney literally saying you are so alienated from everything around you and how like interacting with anything, that the only thing that you can define yourself by is the things that you purchase. And you don't necessarily need to purchase things with like physical money, but like purchasing with your eyes. Like watching
your time. Your time,
you give your time and labor to.
Yeah,
it's like predatory practices of like common like new video games. They do practices to make you have to play longer.
Yeah, it's Balan Wonderworld. Is that what the new one? Have you guys?
No, what's that?
Up with that news? The worst game of all time that just recently got dropped. It's like a PS5 exclusive. Balan Wonderland. It's like a Square. It's like a Square Enix. It's got like. I fuck heavily with Donkey.
Is it Wonderland's War?
No, Balan.
Yeah,
Balan Wonderland. Yeah, and it's bad. It's fucking. I'm not gonna waste your time watching it now, but if you get a chance, watch Donkey's takedown.
I'll definitely watch it. I love Donkey.
Yeah, I love Donkey. He comes through and he's just like, yo, this game is fucking bad.
Has YouTube been suppressing my Donkey? Because I haven't seen him in my sub box. Oh no, I guess I watched the video last week. I just missed this one somehow.
Yeah, no, you know what? I don't trust YouTube at all either.
Absolutely not.
YouTube used to be like the Wild West back when I was like, I remember back in like elementary school. YouTube was like the Wild West. Nowadays, though, the only thing you see on the front page is TV again.
Oh, yeah. Have you even pimped your YouTube on the podcast?
No, I haven't ever done that.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right
sell
now?
Out.
Yeah, sell out.
Sell out?
Sell out.
All right, yeah. I do a little, I do a lot of political video, or like
you make lefty content.
Yeah, I make lefty content. Some like bread tube energy, except I don't like the whole, just default to me screeching like a leftist. It's I just like to whenever I see something that like the far right as like a bigger entity, whenever they just like lie about something and I see it and I see like how far its reach gets, it's just like, hold up, take a step back, and like I mean, it's like the anti-PragerU, and it's just like they just say like, look, I mean, I'm not saying this is how we should treat minorities, but, and then you're like, what are you on about? And there's no sources, there's no like proof of information, like no one backs anything up, nobody it's just they just say things, and then people just like assume that their authority is a source.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing is I like to go in and just say, no, like I'm just gonna cite shit, and if you like, are like, oh, this lefty doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a fucking, you young kid. You don't know what you're on about. Just go fucking click my links, dude. Like whatever. Like,
yo, the right,
vet my shit. Yeah.
The right people, the right doing that is literally hyperstitious chaos magic.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you get into chaos magic a little more? Because I still don't think I really understand what that means.
So I don't fucking know. I don't know what it means. Yo, on some real shit, I sped run chaos magic because I'm a legitimate, like, I actually have schizophrenia. I'm a catatonic schizophrenic. I had it in 2009. I had like a real fucking, that's when I really found out I had the real shit for real. I went catatonic for like 9 months, right? Which I don't know if you know what catatonic means, but it just means like Like I was blank,
yeah.
right? Like I had very little executive function or anything. I was like pissing and shitting myself. I had to be in a hospital for 9 months. And when I got out, I wasn't having visions or hearing voice. I mean, I get some of that too, but I think the reality of it was that my whole world was now different. There was a time before and a time after.
Yeah.
So I had to start thinking about things that I don't think anyone else thinks about, which is that, like, is reality real? Most people, like, they get high, they smoke some weed, or they're fucking drinking, or they're hanging out with their boys, and they're just bullshitting, and they're like, is reality real, bro? And then that's the extent of what they think about. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
No, I had to actually keep questioning for years. To this day, is what I'm experiencing actually real?
Especially like compounded with like what you or I mean I don't know what it's like to have a schizophrenic episode, but like what you experienced with that, like it must be like everything after, like I have to question a little more, right?
Yeah. So the idea for me has always been like, how I got into like chaos magic is actually more of a recent thing, but I've been calling it is like schizophrenic reality wizard shit, because I noticed that, and like this is like getting more into hyperstition. The difference between like a superstition and a hyperstition is something that exists in the minds of lots of people, and whether or not it's real doesn't matter, because it has some grounding in reality somewhere. Right? Somewhere the superstition existed, and then it's now in people's brains, and it lives there, and it transcended outside of reality, like outside of a physical realm, into like a mental realm, like a shared mental realm with like, and this goes into like Jungian psychology, where there's like a collective unconscious that we all experience. But that's what that is. That's what a superstition is. A hyperstition is something that exists in one person's mind, and then I implant it into your mind. And through, by memeing things, by making jokes, by saying things, and they're like interior. There's just eventually a bunch of people start referencing something that originally only lived in my mind or your mind, and now it becomes real. So like, if I post on Twitter, piss hat, literally the words piss hat, and you retweet it, and a bunch of people retweet it, and then eventually some marketing fuck like me is going to be looking at it and being like, whoa, there's a need for piss hats. I'm gonna make a hat, a piss hat. I'm gonna make a hat that says piss on it. That's hyperstition.
I was imagining like a catheter style hat, where like the tank of like the catheter goes up to the hat. It's like down, the beer hats with like the little like things that go down. It's like the opposite of that, but it's coming through a catheter.
Yeah, I love the energy of
how you store it all.
Yeah, I love how differently we all see this piss hat world that we're living in. But that's hyperstition. That's part of
the
hyperstition.
New Rorschach right there. You just say piss hat. And you say draw a piss hat.
Draw a piss hat.
What does this mean to you?
Everything that I post online and everything that I say in general, like with random people and every conversation I have, is always meant to be treated like a Rorschach test. You get out of me what you see. I don't try to present myself as anything more than just like a series of images and things. I'm not much more than that.
I mean, that's all any of us really are, though.
Exactly. Right? But because I think of myself that way, I think that there's like a deeper truth to me personally, right? People are always wondering what I'm like in real life. I'm like however you assume I am, right? Like really, like I'm actually that person. There is no real depth to me. And I think that is the depth that is in me, is that there is no depth to me. So like, I think about like, going back to like chaos magic and stuff like sigils and shit. A lot of like, when you draw something, like a lot of people have like this whole boundary, like they understand sigils as like these symbols, these specific symbols that they draw or they make, and they charge them using all different types of various methods and methodologies. But the reality of it is it's just a ritual that it's a thing that you've not wasted, but a thing that you've spent time on, that you've pulled something from your brain, right? You pulled like some kind of like design or direction from your brain. No one really knows where it comes from, but you've printed it on paper. That is a magical act. What you're doing is magic. It doesn't seem magic because it's very benign. You're just sitting at home and you're doodling on a piece of paper. But the reality of like all the motor functions that go behind the miracle that is fucking being able to doodle something, all of that is literal fucking magic.
Existing is magic. Yeah.
Yeah, straight up.
Existing is hard.
And so you being able to translate all of these like insane thoughts or like all these like concepts and like in nanoseconds and be able to draw something is already an act of magic. But putting any belief into that, right? Like when you make a symbol and that symbol means something, it doesn't even have to be a specific symbol. It could just be a symbol that means something to you. That shit is now more magical, right? And if you want to like get weirder with it, you can start like charging your sigils. So I know people that charge their sigils with like, a lot of people do it on like 4chan. They talk about like jacking off to sigils, right? Like that's a thing. I'm not kidding you.
I've read about that. Yeah, I've seen that.
That's because
I've browsed those forums.
I don't I don't go on 4chan like so. I just like I don't know about it that much. But I love hearing.
It's the same deal with like crystals. You ever hear about like jerk off crystals? You charge them. You charge them with sexual energy.
Why wasn't that in our crystal tier list? Why wasn't there a jerk off crystal?
Because they typically use quartz for that. Like typically a jerk off quartz. Jerk off crystal is a quartz.
Yeah, and so there's all kinds of like, so one of the things that I do, right? Like I have my own sigil process and stuff. I don't necessarily, I'll draw things or I'll write things down. Like I'll literally write shit down. And I will take a pinprick of my blood and I'll smear it on it and I'll plant it in my garden. And the process of watching the thing have a little bit of me on it and then get planting into the garden and then growing.
What do you grow? Like, what do you play with? Like seeds?
Vegetables.
Just random seeds?
I grow vegetables. I grow all kinds of shit. I have potato plants growing right now, but I just throw them in there. And for me, the act of wanting something bad enough to go through this ritualistic process has one of two effects. Either it expels the need for me to like act on whatever it is that I want. So therefore I've expelled it. I put it somewhere else. Or it forces me to want to do it more so that I actually get it done.
Exactly.
So I say, hey, I want to do this one thing and I really want to get it done. There's this whole ritual that I will literally go through. That shit is chaos magic.
Rituals
it's just not
power,
it's just not in the way that you think they are.
I guess
it's not like it's
why chaos? Because when I think of chaos, I think of like,
I think that's just a term, but because at the source of like reality, there's like it's chaos.
Oh, it's all chaos. Chaos is like the natural order. Well, what is it? Entropy or something?
Yeah. I mean, scientifically, that's what it's called. It's called entropy, right? It's the thermodynamic law of
like
entropy.
It's just like dolphin. What's entropy?
No. No, I went to school to be an engineer.
No.
School to be an engineer.
Yeah, you don't fuck with chaos, man. That's it.
No, I mean entropy is just like
disorder,
the state of disorder, randomness, or uncertainty, or it's just how things just like are happening, and that eventually everything just wants to like is going to go to the state of highest entropy, which everything has been done.
Yeah,
and it's like all done.
Yeah. And so that kind of like understanding that, bringing that mentality out of like the realm of like engineering and shit and bringing it into your day-to-day life by virtue of like different rituals and things that you do. Like I have a focus ritual, right, that I use. Like I have this little coin. It's a little fucking, there's nothing special about it. I got it at a car wash, right?
Okay.
But I hold the coin, right, and I think about the ridges on my hands while I'm touching it. And if I need to do something like focus for work because I can't focus for whatever reason, I will think of the ridges, I will blank my mind, and I will count the ridges that I feel on my fingers. And I just keep doing this over and over.
Does it kind of like ground you, huh?
Yeah, and it fucking puts me right where I'm like, and then I let it go and I drop it down.
I need some shit like that. I don't have enough rituals, and my ADD just gets me like.
I used to have like this like fidget cube or whatever that had just all kinds of switches. That was like I would do the same exact thing. You just sit there for a while, you just clear your mind, like if I'm feeling like super anxious, and it just like puts you in the now. It puts you in the now.
Yeah, and there's multiple things that you can do with. Like I got a sleep ritual.
Yeah.
Right. Like I literally, I have a little melatonin pill that helps me go to sleep. But on top of that, I wash my feet. Like that also gets me sleepy. Like I make sure that I get them shit scrubbed.
Yeah, you just associate that with sleeping. I need that. I've been sleeping terribly, but continue.
Well, and then I lotion my arms, and like literally when I'm done with those three things, the only thing left to do is go to bed. It puts me the fuck out. Now, that said, I sleep like 2 or 3 hours a night. I do not sleep very well. Right? I sleep bad. I have a fucking terrible, but I can sleep when I want to.
Do you have like sleep apnea or something? you know?
No, I have nightmares hella bad.
Oh,
I have like I have crazy PTSD.
Some weeks I get just bad nightmares for like a whole week, man. I just don't sleep good.
I haven't had the last time I had a good dream was literally 7 months ago, and it was me. And I always remember my dreams, which is another fucked up thing, right? I have a dream journal, so I'm really good at that kind of shit.
Like, journal too.
Same. Like, I have one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep my dream journal near my bed, and I'll write in it every day. And I have dreams. The last good dream that I had was about I was going cross country, and I stopped at a cabbage field, and I opened up a cabbage, and it was me as a baby, and I got to hold myself as a baby, and that was
That's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, it was a fucking amazing dream.
That's crazy.
What's your most recent like nightmare?
So I keep having recurring nightmares. Recently, the one I got like maybe 2-3 days ago, and I keep having it. I'm on stage. I used to do open mics and shit, and one of the open mics I used to have this really nice like red backdrop and like sign. I'm there, and I'm doing my whole spiel, which is like a comedy routine thing, and I realize no one's laughing, and then I see on top of the table there's like a small 4-corner table, right? Like a nightstand. Yeah, like a nightstand. And I go and I see there's a hammer, a match, and a bucket of gasoline, like a jerry can. And I realize that no one's laughing, so I take the hammer and I bash my own fucking teeth out, and I'm like, feeling the warmth of the blood and everything. And then I take the jerry can and I pour the jerry can in my mouth, and then take a match and I just light my face on fire. And then I take a bow, and then that's when I wake up. That's
really.
You got to make that into a short film.
Yeah, honestly.
No, I think honestly, some of like the best like idea, like the most horrifying things a mind can come up with, are like in dreams.
Yeah, no. Well, so I'm extremely dream connected, and I have no idea why. I mean, I've always been that way. I've always had like I've always been able to like dream really deeply. But I think the episode that I had in 2009, it's weird to say that I have schizophrenia. For me, I'm still very weird to say it, because 2009, which is a long time ago, I lost my shit, and I haven't really had any bad episodes. I had one earlier this year around October. There was a lot of shit that I was just doing that was just wrong and triggering me, and it fucked my whole shit up. But usually, I'm a normal guy. Like, I don't feel like I don't. You know what it is? You know what? Actually, one of the literal crazy people things that I do all the time, and it fucks me up in relationships and just friendships in general. I'll hear people reply to shit that I say in my head. I'll hear them say shit in my head, and I know they didn't say anything because they're not around me. I literally cannot hear them, but I'll hear it, and it sounds different.
Like their voice?
Yeah, it sounds different. It's their voice, but it sounds different. It's like if you cover your ears and your friend is talking to you, that's what it sounds like. Like it's muffled.
Yeah.
Right. So I can hear people.
Or like, kind of, if you have like big headphones, is like hearing yourself talk, but like with headphones on, kind of.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's not. Kind of similar vibe. But I can hear it in their head, and I can feel the vibration in the back of my skull. And so that's a kind of weird shit that's the one thing I think that does like make me actually feel like a crazy person. But it's not often, and it's usually like in stress. But I'll like be in a meeting at work, and people will be talking to me about shit, and I'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, and then I think this, and then I'll hear them literally, I'll see their mouths not moving, but I'll hear them talking in my brain. And I'm like, all right, I gotta stop. Like, all right, I gotta do something else real quick, because this is, so.
I mean, as long as like you know about it and you're managing it.
Yeah, which I think, like puts me a leg up, because I actually, while I was in the hospital, I met a lot of people that were like way sicker than I was, and I feel awful for them because they literally just have no means of control. And I don't know how I feel lucky, in all honesty. I just feel super lucky because I just kind of like stumbled ass backwards into things that work for me, like rituals being one of them, having specific rituals, thinking about things, like questioning my reality, but not in a way that makes me crazy, but in a way that makes me like just kind of a little bit harder to fool. Right? Like that's, this is just how I got into conspiracy theories in the first place. The reason why I'm like, I love conspiracy theories and I get into conspiracy theories so deeply is because I have a really deep understanding of conspiratorial analysis. where it's not about what the fucking it's not conspiracy theory where you're like, oh, this guy profiting or they're trying to take us over or whatever. It's kind of like, well, who benefits and why would they do this? And then from there, you can build like a worldview.
I have a few.
Yeah.
Have you had like psychedelic experiences?
Yeah. So when I was 16, and I got a whole life. You should listen to my podcast. I talk about all this shit. I'm 30. I'm a 30-year-old man.
Okay,
I'm an old ass 30-year-old.
You don't look 30, man. You look good.
Yeah, no.
You know what's fucked up? I haven't aged in 10 years, and it sounds cool, but everything, my body is fucking up. So I just like I'm an old man who looks hella young. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm all walking with a cane and shit, and I look the same age. It's fucked up, dude. But no, I don't know if you want to get into like how it all kind of. So I grew up rough, hard, right? My dad was he was a prison guy. He got out of prison, and he was high key institutionalized. He had some shit happen to him in there. I know it happened, but I don't want to talk about it. But he had some shit.
Don't talk about anything you're not comfortable with. Yeah.
Well, he had some shit happen in there that fucked him up bad. So when he got out, for him, he never got out.
Mm-hmm.
So he raised me more like his celly than his fucking son.
Yeah.
So I got raised like a pit bull, essentially, right? I tell a story. I told one on my podcast a while ago where my dad and me I got jumped by these kids in middle school or in high school, like freshman year of high school. I got jumped by these kids, and I go home and I tell my dad, I got jumped, and he goes, "Did you win?" I go, "No, I got jumped." And he goes, "All right, cool." So he goes in his room and he pulls out some boxing gloves and he kicked the shit out of me, and he says, "That's for losing, because they made you look like less of a man in the streets."
Wow.
So tomorrow, when you go back to school, you're gonna go and you're gonna beat the fuck out of them, and you're gonna prove them that you're a man. And every day that you don't, when you come home, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you again. So I knew what I had to do. The next day, I wake up, I catch the first kid on the way to school, beat the shit out of him. Second kid, I didn't have very much luck, couldn't find him. Came back home, told my dad I got one of them, and he goes, "That's not all of them. Fuck you. Put the gloves on." Kicked the shit out of me again. So I got beat 4 times. It took 4 days that I got shit kicked out of me 4 times. But on the 5th day, when I finally got everyone beat up and I told him, "Hey, Dad, I did it. He goes, "All right, cool. Put the gloves on. I'm fucking you up for fighting in the streets like an animal."
Dude, what?
That's fucked up.
Dude. Yeah,
that's rigged.
Yeah, no, the system's rigged.
It's rigged.
That's rigged.
But that kind of, I laugh about it. It's funny now, but that kind of shit,
I mean, yeah,
makes you start to like it already. My path was already fucked up.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the thing that got me out of it was that my dad was a terrible fucking like adult, like male adult influence in my life. But I was lucky enough to have a lot of uncles and a lot of like, and my grandmother and my grandfather and my aunties and my godmother, because my mom wasn't around that much, but having all of them in my life to like guide me from afar, none of them really like took the charge and fucking got me out of the situation, which is fucked up. But in Mexican families, it's just not something you do. So, but having their influence on them of being like, hey, the way that your parents are isn't the way that the world is, right? Like you can do better than that. And then they used to tell me all the time, you're better than this shit. You're better than the way that they treat you. Always remember that. And so like that kind of like mentality of they're better than the way that they treat me really did get me to, think that when all the shit was said and done, I didn't deserve to be treated the way I did. So I have to let it not affect me. Right. And so like that, it's a harder path. But one of the things that I got into when I was a kid at 16, I used to sell weed because my parents weren't working. So I used to sell weed to get my brother and I have a little brother and a little sister, and I used to buy them their school clothes and shit. So I would hustle all year so that by the start of next school year, they could like have nice clothes. And I fucking just, wore rags. I wore whatever I could. Right. I think I bought a Sean John outfit once and a denim jacket. And I felt so guilty about that shit that I just instantly gave it to my little brother. Cause like, I was fitted, but I was like, man, I don't need to be stunning. Like weed dealers don't need to be stunning, right? Like no one, right? So like I was selling weed and I got hooked up with these people, and one of them was like, I don't know what the fuck she was, but she's where I used to get all my, like, she's my weed wholesaler.
Yeah.
And she's a much older lady. She was like in her 50s and 60s. And she like one day pulls me into the house and she goes, "You have the weight of the world on your shoulders. You need to relax." And I was like, I can't, I got shit I got to do. She goes, "When's your birthday?" And I said, "It's September." She goes, "On your birthday, you come here." She goes, "You tell your parents." And I go, "My parents don't care." She goes, "Even better. You come here, you spend a week here." And so I went and I spent a week with it. And while I was there, she was giving me all kinds of like mushrooms, like shrooms. I got to try ayahuasca, some acid, like the good shit from the 60s.
All in a week?
Shit connects in like 2 weeks. And I got to like, but it wasn't like, fucking, you're on drugs, blah, blah, blah. It was very much of, although I did fuck up and take way too much ayahuasca my first time. Like all of these psychedelic experiences were guided by her, and she was just like trying to teach me how to let shit go, and it worked. And in all honesty, I'm shaman, well, I know I just feel so fucking grateful. Like I can't thank her enough, because what she really gave me, and when I think about it all the time, because I have hella friends that, I mean, most of my friends are like dead, right? They're either dead, in rehab, or in jail. Those are the kind of, they all ended up that way. All of my friends are recent, right? Like I don't have friendships going back further than 10 years, because most of them are like I said, dead, locked up, or in jail, or like dead on their way out, or in rehab or something. So the reason when I was selling weed, for me, it was the goal was always to help my mom, my brother and sister, and my mom, and fucking we had food to do, like drink and eat and stuff. She, however, Cindy was the lady who helped me out. Cindy, she saw that I had all this weight in my soul and like in my spirit, and she really she gave me something that no one else gave me in my life, which was time to think about me. And I see like everyone else that I know that went through all the same shit that I did, but is all fucked up, and they're still repeating these cycles, these like ugly cycles, and not being able to realize that it's capitalism, not being able to realize that they're just playing a part of a bigger machine that was designed to chew them up and spit them out. And that, this feeling of like, I'm an animal because I was raised like one. It's like, no, you can transcend all that shit. You can be better because you don't deserve it to be like any of that shit. The reason why I have the mentality that I do, and the reason they don't, is because I had the time to think about it. And like that shit is worth its weight in gold, time to think about your position in life in a calm, collected manner. It's shit that most people don't have access to.
So most people, they don't have the time to fucking, to really look at
it's a blessing
and how they feel. It's so shitty. Like, that is 100% capitalism that prevents people from being able to do that. Yeah,
and I was 16, and it fucked me up because it aged me. I jumped from being 16 to where I am now. I had like I'm 16 years old with this like huge mentality of like, oh fuck, everything is so much different. And it made me super duper isolated for a lot of years, which isn't a good thing, right? I tell people who have psychedelic experiences, right? They're like, oh, I love doing drugs and shit. And they're like, they love doing like they love getting fucked up on shrooms and shit and walking in the woods. And I always tell them, but how do you relate that shit afterwards? Yeah. Like to a person that has never done and has no experience, like doesn't want to do it. How would you explain that to them? Right. And they don't have an answer for that. They're like, well, I just tell them to try it. I'm like, well, that's not
not good enough.
Yeah. How do you come out of this experience and be like, hey, this was a really positive and good experience, and this is what I learned from it. Right? Because if you're not learning shit from it, then
it can be terrifying too.
Yeah, exactly. If you're just,
it can be both. I took like 10 grams of mushrooms without really realizing how much that was, and I feel like it definitely like I think I kind of connected to what you said about the before and after, because like I do kind of like it did definitely change my like perspective on life permanently. Like I feel like it definitely like I don't know. I realized how insignificant all the little stressors, everything that we stress out about is. I think that was like one of my biggest takeaways from that experience.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing I've kind of learned because Micah was like he did shrooms with me for my first time. Yeah, you know, for the one thing I just repeated like the whole time was like, you know what, everything's good, man. Everything's all right at the end of the day. Like you don't have to. I don't know. I used to be really, really anxious, especially like in high school. I used to worry about every like sentence I said, man.
Yeah.
Like I'd walk away from a conversation and be like, why the fuck did I say that? Like kind of
I do that shit to this day, so I get it.
Yeah. You know, I still do it sometimes, right? But you know, I used to just be a lot more full of stress, and then you know, mushrooms that changed me to be like a lot more just enjoying the moment. I think I was always living either in the past or like the future, like what I'm gonna do instead of just enjoying what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, no, I think, it's weird because I don't have that. I don't live in the past or the present. I have zero like concept of time. I don't even know what fucking day it is. Right? It's very difficult for me. Like I do, but it's very difficult for me to like really get a concept. I have no idea when shit happened. There was a podcast that I did recently on my pod where I was explaining to someone that happened to me something in 2005, but I kept saying 2015 because I was 15, so I was conflating my age.
Yeah,
I do that shit all the time. And my brain is not screwed in straight. So I'll fuck things up. I'll fuck up details all the time. But what I was getting at was that, like, you know, I have this like constant, I'm in this constant ebbing and flowing state where everything is always happening and nothing is happening at the same exact time. Right. Where I'm always in a state of like something's happening, but nothing's happening. And I experience time in a really fucking weird way where like I'll have intense ass memories like that can trigger straight flashbacks where I'm back into like right at the spot where the shit is happening, and I'm there and I'm stuck in a loop experiencing it. And then sometimes I'll just be like, you know, in the moment I'll be here hanging out with you guys, but it's always it's a simultaneous thing where like I can do both at the same time, and it's a very it makes you crazier. It makes you feel crazy, right? Like there's no way to explain that. But yeah,
no, that's like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like I dominated this conversation.
No, it's good, man. That's like solid. That's really good. That's one thing I unfortunately do. I talk way too fucking much, so it's like it's really refreshing when I don't. It's nice. It's nice. So I appreciate that a lot. No, man, I grew up in a family's similar kind of deal, but I mean, like, like huge substance abuse and personality disorders were like huge in my family. And so, like, while I consider myself like thankful that I didn't really catch like anything that's like nearly as debilitating as like what other family members had, it's really like it is like really surreal to like experience like their state of like existing. And a lot of the stuff you mentioned about, I mean, yeah, like just no sense of time. It was like a very like common thing where like, I mean, yeah, it's like 2011 right now, like, and just talking about shit like that. And it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, everything was like kind of happening at once. But I mean, yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting that you like brought a lot of that stuff up. And I'm really like, I never really knew anything about like the sigils or anything like that, and like how the rituals help with like with your daily life. Because like in my house, like I had a family member who had severe OCD, and so repetition and like things that they would do was like a really debilitating thing, and it was like it would like stop their whole life, and it was always like, nope, you gotta do this thing first. And it was just like, so it's really interesting to hear that like that really does help you, because like it's a new look for things, look on things for me.
Yeah. If there's anything I've ever learned, it's always like it's moderation. Like the only thing that I ever have to sell, or like not sell, but give away to people and tell, like the one real key to the game is always and has always been moderation in all things. Right? Like that, you really do have to be like, you really do have to have moderation. Now, that said, it's really, moderation is difficult for me because I am an extremist. Like I was joking earlier that I'm a domestic terrorist because that's how extreme I am about shit. I'm just extreme. I think about shit extremely. I do shit extreme. There's no middle ground for me, right?
Yeah.
It's why I'm fat and buff at the same time, right? It's because I work out like a fucking animal, but I also eat like a goddamn garbage man. Like there's literally no middle ground for me. So it's very difficult for me to do anything. So everything that I do is an attempt to find some moderation, right? It's an attempt to like, I guess, what is it? Someone said what did Hegel talk about? Synthesis, right? It's a synthesis of two extreme opposite ends into a single thing. And that's the middle part. And that's what I try to be, is the middle part. Right. So
that's the fucking way to be, man.
Well, it's hard, bro.
It's hard. Here's the thing. No, it's really hard. It's really hard because everyone, when you say moderation, everyone thinks like drugs. Alcohol. Everyone thinks that immediately, but no, there's that saying, moderation in all things.
Everything's a drug, man. Everything's.
I spent like legit like 2 years straight back when I worked nights. I would just work. I would go home and I would draw for like 6 hours and then I'd go to sleep. I was living like a fucking monk, and that brought out like the worst of my mental depression I've ever had in my life. So you need to moderate everything. But I'm that kind of guy. I get like really fucking stressed out if I don't do anything productive, but I got, moderation's also key. Like lately I've just been drawing a little bit, but like doing more fun stuff, which is
I wonder how monks' mental health was like throughout history.
I don't know. It fucked me up. Being an isolationist and like just working on your craft, like it's fun. Like, it's fine for a little bit, but you can't do that for like longer than a week without going crazy.
Think about their stigma, or not their stigma, but think about like the expectation or like what you think about them is that like, they're like, extremely like emotionally intelligent and like at peace or whatever. And just imagine if like you're in that community and you're not. Like, do you show it? Do you like?
They're all faking it, man.
Do you not?
What do you
like,
do?
So,
do you talk about it?
Yeah, it's like I assume like if in that like, or is it like an open enough community where like that's like encouraged and to like talk about it and to like like
I wonder if there's shame around it though. Like
or is it like oh yeah, like I mean the people who don't fit this very specific mold, like I mean they drop out and you just never hear about it. And I thought about that a lot.
Do you know what gnosis is?
Gnosis?
Yeah, Gnosis.
Oh,
yeah, gnosis.
I know like agnosia.
Yeah, so no, gnosis is
so it's Gnosticism, right? Like
yeah, well, it's a part of Gnosticism, but like
okay,
gnosis is essentially the word gnosis means esoteric knowledge. It means knowledge,
spiritual, like knowledge, like spiritual, like mystery, right?
Yeah,
spiritual.
Yeah. But so to acquire gnosis, right? In order to acquire gnosis, this is an actual like thing that not only Gnostics but like because gnosis the word agnostic dominates what gnosis means, but every single spiritual function, whether it's Catholic monks, whether it's Christian, I don't know any Christian monks anymore, but whether you're a Shaolin monk, if you are living in a state of spirituality constantly, you're attempting to kind of look for this gnosis, which is the secret meaning, right, of just the world. So the way you attain gnosis is through extreme physical distress, emotional duress, psychedelic drugs, or, and this one is the real kicker, isolation. So like
isolation's insane.
Yeah. So if you think about like the mental health of monks, fucking dudes probably aren't mentally healthy at all.
No, dude.
In order to attain some form of gnosis, you must like literally experience physical pain, emotional distress.
Oh, so like what is it with the Catholics?
Flagellation.
Flagellation is
flagellation. I can't remember which monk did this, but they're the ones who they punch stone.
Yeah, well,
Shaolin monks. Is that Shaolin?
Yeah, Shaolin monks train for like 17, 18 hours a day.
Yeah,
like that shit doesn't feel good.
And
right?
Yeah, they do that to like harden their bones and crap.
Yeah, that is an attempt to achieve gnosis, right?
Yeah, that's their attempt to like enlighten themselves to achieve the higher.
I'd rather use the cheat. It sounds like drugs are the cheat code for gnosis.
So drugs are the cheat code, but you could just straight like become psychotic too. That's that's the other the flip side.
It can unlock something.
There's a connection there though, and everyone's a little psychotic.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, everyone's psychotic. I do not think anyone's normal or sane.
let me just say, I have the sincere and genuine belief that the only real psychological reaction to capitalism in its current state and in its continuously growing state is straight psychosis. Yeah. Anything else is inhuman, right? Anyone who is completely fine and normal, the Jeff Bezoses of our world, they're not human, right?
Oh,
and this goes back to the conspiracy theory of like lizard people who run the world. When David Icke was talking about like the conspiracy of like
my favorite one.
Yeah, he was like being essentially anti-Semitic, saying the Jewish people are lizards, which is not. He's not wrong, but in a weird way. Jewish people aren't lizards, but the act of people in power not seeing and recognizing the suffering of humanity and being able to do something about it is inhuman. It is like reptilian.
Lizard brain,
Yeah,
like,
that
absolutely.
is
for you for you to be Jeff Bezos and not like kill yourself, you have to have like a lizard brain, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and so that shit is reptilian, right?
Imagine if tomorrow you wake up and you're Jeff Bezos. Like, what would you fucking do?
I'd
lose my fucking mind.
I'd lose my mind.
Cocaine.
Oh, Kaya's right.
I think about that whole like Wolf of Wall Street mentality, but like genuinely, like when you hit a certain point of wealth where like the whole it's not even worth it for Bill Gates to stop and pick up $100 bill if he drops it. Like once you enter that sort of like you're just making
that
incomprehensible amounts of money. Yeah, it's just like you lose like all limitations, and at that point it's just like nothing I do, like not like nothing I do matters, but like I can't make mistakes. It's just there's just too much money like existing, and at that point it's just like fuck it. You're just gonna go as fast as you can, as hard as you can, because then it's like, well, I mean, what else am I gonna do? Like, just
that's why they do it all. They get locked into ideology, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like and this is what I mean by like I get into like fucking heated debates with like Marxists and shit and like hardcore MLM. Not MLM, Marxist Leninists and shit. I don't know why I said MLM, but like Marxist Leninists, I get all kinds of like hardcore lefty. I'm leftist shit too, but I have a much more human concept of leftism.
What's your like political ideology?
Homieism.
Yeah,
homieism. I need to join your Discord.
No,
I like that. I
don't want to bread pill you real quick. But have you read The Conquest of Bread?
Yes, by Peter Kropotnik. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. Okay.
And I fuck with Peter Kropotnik, and I fuck with I don't hate any of these dudes. In fact, I think all of the theory. I love people who read theory. I think it's a good thing. But I also think people forget that at the core of organizing people are part of that.
Yeah,
There's people there, right? You got to be relatable to people. You got to be able to talk to people. And I get really mad at fucking people. For me, like I said, my political ideology is homieism.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Homieism is simple, right? The world is a garden. You are a garden. We're all gardens. We have to cultivate within ourselves something that will grow because the garden needs to grow. Beyond that, right? To get like further into the weeds on this shit, self-care under capitalism fucking sucks because it is ultimately consumerist. In order for you to do any kind of self-care and to care about yourself, fucking means you have to consume something, and that fucking sucks. And when you do that, you suck. So you are trained and conditioned to not care about yourself, right? You literally feel bad to try and care about yourself. So the best way to do that is to no longer see yourself as yourself, but to see yourself as belonging to a bigger other. And that bigger other is the homies. You are a homie. I'm a homie. The best homie that I can absolutely be is when I can take care of myself. Because I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of myself, and by larger part, I'm taking care of the homies. And when I get to a point where I can really take care of myself and take care of the other homies, I become a better homie. And I build and I cultivate these things inside of me, and they bear fruit, and the garden grows. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's a continuous process. But you gotta cultivate.
I'm a homie, man. That's all.
Absolutely.
And that's like it's completely leaderless, and it's more like I feel way more understanding of like Zapoetic movements, which were like the Zapatistas and the EZLN. They don't consider themselves leftist, but they are essentially struggling against empire. Yeah, I don't think that homieism is the key to destroying capitalism. I do not think that at all. but I do think that homieism will help a lot of people cope with capitalism, because right now there is no methodology to cope with it. Right? There's literally just saying we got to tear down capitalism. Okay, dude, but we're
you
living
either
in
like
it.
hate it or you love it, and that there's not a lot of, or you're just like blissfully ignorant, which I feel like a lot of people are for a long time.
Yeah, and so that's why like the methodology, the methodology of calling it homies and being like, hey, you're a homie, right? Is a sneaky way of getting if sneaking a meme, like I was saying, a meme ideology is still an ideology. Mm-hmm. It's a way to sneakily be like, hey man, I'm just a homie that belongs to a group of bigger homies and we're all friends. I think the real spiritual basis of this homie shit is the concept of, in America, it used to be fuck you, pay me, right? Mm-hmm. Under homies, it's fuck you, be my friend. That's right. Yeah. That's what the homies are all about. Hey, dude, I don't give a fuck about whatever you care about, whatever. We're friends, and we don't take no for an option. But the question is, are we friends? That's what it is, right? Like
exactly.
And that's how it is. It's you will learn to love each other because we're at a point now in our lives where we do not have the opportunity. We have 47 years worth of gas left, right? Like. We are.
It's something our society needs so much, is loving each other. Especially this last year with COVID and stuff, people are getting even more divided, and we're all getting propped up on this hatred on like other people, on ideas of other people. Not like I'm not. You know, it's like when I don't know. Let's just make fun of leftists. That leftist Twitter account who just goes out there and makes fun of righties all day.
Yeah. That shit. I get it. Like, it's fun to meme on people. It's fun to make fun of people. But
but that leftist person's like hating on right people, but hating on his idea of that person, not who that person actually is. He's never fucking met them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And so the humanity, the human aspect of like homieism.
Yeah, we need humanity.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's cultivating humanity within people and seeing people as humans, right?
That was the biggest reason. Like, that was my biggest issue when the whole trying to figure out. Like, if you're a leftist or not. That's like the biggest reason why I really didn't associate with Marxism or Marxist-Leninism or any of that kind of like Bolshevism, because it is like, it really does require like stripping of the humanity aspect. And it's about like organizing the laborers, establish the dictatorship of the proletariat and that kind of stuff. And you're like, I just want to go live on a farm, man.
Yeah. Well, a lot of Vosh, like Voshites and Vosh nerds and ML guys that are like into that whole, like, essentially Bolshevism and the idea of like, returning to a different modality of like controlling the capital of worker controlled. What they really want is power, because they were alienated from power in so many different ways. Not necessarily like alienated from power, like, because we're all alienated from power, but these motherfuckers also didn't know anyone in high school. They got bullied a lot, right? There are people who they're like incels. And in fact, the incel community, I actually do a lot of work where I work with the incel community. I want them to be my friends. I want them to be my homies. I want to get my homies laid.
Well, yeah, they
just need help.
They need help too. Yeah. They need to know that there are people out there.
Yeah, like, I'm not kidding you. And like, that's like, I'm in Marxist spaces and shit, and I'm hanging out with these motherfuckers who are essentially being like, actually what we need to do is, I'm like, shut up, dude, be my friend. That's how we do this, right?
I think ultimately,
play some video games.
Connecting between people is the best way to like, especially like break down those preconceived notions that we have of each other.
Yeah.
Well, that's what pushes people farther down, like, especially like the far right rabbit hole, and anything like any kind of extremism is like alienation. And like, it's like, remember, they're going to tell you that they're going to say that you're crazy and that you're insane, but it's all like, the more you disconnect and the further isolated you are from your community, like the easier it is to like lose touch. And it's that's really important.
That's why, like, I don't hate radicalism, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can radicalize for me, I'm like radically human, right? Like, I'm doing my best to radicalize people in the sense of like, hey, realize that we're all stuck in the same boat. Like, it literally we're, and that's what I mean by like, for me, my literal actual fucking like real ideology that I have, and this is created by someone in our Discord, someone named Tetra. She's amazing. She is explaining to me about like she was saying that we're past a point where it's safe to like judge another motherfucker or like not hate but like just dislike another motherfucker. We have to literally, we must, it is a absolute must to love someone. We must love someone, and not love like I'm like romantically in love, but like agape, which is the Greek version of
agape. I know about this.
Yeah, agape. It's the Greek concept of like a universal love. It is an eternal.
Yeah.
It is completely unconditional, and like
agape.
Yeah, what it essentially means is that like I recognize in you that you are a human being, and I love you, right? Yeah. And that kind of love can, because it's such a universal love, it can be manifested in all kinds of different ways.
Agape is just seeing somebody, you know, somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Agape is just reaching out to someone you haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah, but
because you just want to see how they're doing.
It's even beyond that. It's literally recognizing the humanity in another person, even in like so. One of the things that people get, like people debate me all the time. They're like, oh, if you believe in like this love and this homeism shit, then like, how do you feel about pedophiles? Because they don't believe in anything. And I'm like, look, pedophiles are fucking disgusting and gross, but I recognize that they're human beings and they should be reformed, right? There should be some.
Let's use a Christian statement, because I've been around that a lot. What is it? Hate the sin, not the sinner.
Exactly. Jesus is the first fucking homie. Like real talk.
Jesus was a homie.
Yeah, he was like, yo, I love all these motherfuckers. He hung out with sex workers and just chilled out and vibed out in the right.
Yeah,
and
he ate with tax collectors.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
Y'all are fucked up, but I love you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's kind of like, yo, you're acting like a bitch ass right now, but I still love you. That kind of like friendliness is necessary in like, the coming catastrophe, just the coming catastrophe that is spinning
like
capitalism.
Jesus. Yeah, like Jesus in the least Christian way, in the least like religious way I could say it. Be like Jesus.
Yeah, just be a homie. This,
only
that's
Christian. If only Christians got that message.
That's why I stay away from the Christian iconography of like. It's still co-opted. Like we still talk about Jesus as the homie, but the reality of like the reason why I call it homieism is. Another broader aspect of homieism is that under homieism, we're all Mexican.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So check this out. A lot of white leftists and liberals essentially see people of color, like myself and like my friends and family, and they want to give them whiteness. So essentially they want to gift them. They want to gift wrap whiteness, which is this privilege that everyone keeps talking about. That, in my opinion, only exists if you above a certain like income, right? For the most part,
it's tied to your economic status for sure.
Yeah, for me, whiteness is and always will be a compatibility with capitalism, not necessarily a skin tone, right? I talk about this all the time on my podcast. I had a roommate who happened to be an extremely white man with black skin. I can get into that on another, but the man was essentially a white guy. He was hardcore right wing and all kinds of fucking fucked up shit and a lot of lib shit ideas that he thought were good but are actually really bad. And I still was his homie. I still tried to like guide him and try and help him get to where he needed to go. But eventually he just got to the point where it was my safety or his, so I had to leave. And so I think about him all the time, and I would love to reach out to him and like try and fucking reconnect and bring him back to the homie, right? Like the homie concept. But for him, he was tied up in this concept of whiteness, where like skin color mattered so much that if you were white, you were automatically better. Yeah. And like and I was trying to explain to him, like, look, this gift of whiteness that you are expecting white people to give you straight up won't happen. Yeah. So and when I realized that, it made me think about like maybe the goal isn't to gift people of color whiteness, but to gift white people this mantle of a culture and accessibility to a culture that they normally don't have. Right. And so as it started as a joke, like, hey, the goal of the homies is to make everyone Mexican, especially white people. Yeah. Right. And then I thought about it and I was like, look, if you've ever had a job and that fucking job was like, you're working 8, 14, 15 fucking hours a day and it sucks, but you work your ass off of that job because there's no other reason to other than because to say you did that good job, congrats, you're Mexican. Right? Yeah. Congrats. Mexican is now a title that I'm bestowing upon you. Right? And ultimately it is to not abolish, but to muddy the waters between what racial realism in America is.
Yeah.
Racial reality. To confuse people, what does it even mean to be anything? It shouldn't mean anything to mean anything. We're just people.
Race is a social construct.
Yeah, I never really thought of it that way before, but I feel like like so many of those like when you think of like the super I'm thinking of like a middle-aged privileged white woman. It's like they're like, I'll bring you up to me, like I'm the standard, and it's like that's the flaw in the thinking. It's like
that's false. Yeah, exactly. And I like that idea of homieism is like letting other people also just experience other cultures. A lot of,
absolutely.
a lot of QAnoners have never left their state. To say
so many Americans have no concept of that there's a world outside of America.
I love trying out different cultural stuff, even just like around me, because you can go around you. Go to a black church. That's a culture. That's a cultural difference. That was one of my favorite things I've ever done. I've been to like 3 different quinceañeras. Fucking amazing. I was the only English speaker at one time. It was fucking crazy. I went to an all Spanish speaking church, and I like almost flunked Spanish, so I had no clue what was going on. But it was amazing. It was awesome because everyone there was just friendly, and they just saw me as me, and they still like gave me food, and they still wanted to hang out. Like even though there was a language barrier. Like
people will have, and I think that this is just something that this is less homieism and more Marcos.
Yeah.
But I'm of the full belief that all racism could be ended with a big enough cookout. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Because no one is a racist when you're eating food.
No,
absolutely.
Sit down and have dinner at my table, and
no one can hate Mexicans if you're eating carne asada. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to hate like Ethiopian people and eat Ethiopian food. It's extremely difficult to hate Indian people and eat Indian food. If someone comes up to you for free in a meal and they just said, "Hey, share this plate with me," that shit ends racism. I had a friend who, I was a best man at his wedding, and he comes from a long line of like straight up actual racist. Like his dad had the SS bolts tattooed on him.
Oh shit!
Like he was in prison for a long time. And like this fool grew up hating Mexican people. And like the first time he ever met me, he called me, I'm not going to say it, but the WB slur. He fucking, he didn't like me for being Mexican. And he used to come in and he used to talk shit. And I was working at a 7-Eleven. And one day he came in and I noticed he had a black eye and he was kind of drunk and having a bad day. So I gave him some taquitos and I gave him a Slurpee and I smoked a cigarette with him outside. And I said, "What are you doing after?" I was like, "I get off at like 6. What are you doing?" And he goes like, "Nothing. I don't fucking hang out with you." And I go, "Oh, well, I'm making tacos at my house, and these taquitos ain't it, bro. And you look a little skinny. Come through and eat my house." I ended up being the best man at that motherfucker's wedding because he came and ate at my table, hung out with me, realized that all of his preconceived notions about what it was to be Mexican were not only wrong, but he had way more in common with me as a person. You know what I'm saying? Because
we all have way more in common than we do differences. Like
exactly.
regardless of your like race, your political ideology, like everything. Like we're all human at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like as soon as when we're like back on track with like everything, right, and people are more vaccinated. One of the things that I really want to do is I want to start organizing in the Bay Area. I want to start organizing literally just free homie cookouts. We just have people
mutual aid, baby. Mutual aid.
And then like we won't turn anyone away. They come through. They bring what you want. We'll cook it for you. We don't care.
Yeah, you can go to any park. You can go to any park and do that.
We'll road trip over. We're in Colorado. We'll road trip for the homie cookout.
Yeah, I'm down to do I'm down to do a cookout in every state, like a homie cookout in every state.
Come on over. Come chill in Colorado. It's cool up here, dude.
Well, no, I mean that's like you go. Sorry.
No, I was just getting at like we gotta. Direct action doesn't necessarily mean I have to go out and rob a bank and then give that to somebody, right? Like, it doesn't mean I got to go flip a cop car. Direct action can literally just be me feeding someone.
It's just loving on other people, dude.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like
when you said that,
like
first
what you did with this man, I don't know. You were just loving on him, and that's amazing. Sorry, Micah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna tangent into like I just like when you were saying imagine like you can't like if you're eating someone's food like you can't hate them. Imagine if there was only fucking like fucking American food in America. This place would fucking suck. Like what is there? Like what is that? Just burgers,
processed meat, and like like
processed meat, processed cheese, and processed bread.
Meat, spam.
No, everyone would just die. Well, that's like in the what is it? It's one of those like the Samoas or one of the Pacific Islands, it's like America came in and like fucked up their whole food like situation, and it's just like they just like we're bringing in processed food and spam, and that's what you have now. And like we totally like the reason they have an obesity problem is because America came in and like took over the islands and is like, this is the food that you have access to now, and it's all processed.
Mexico has a bad obesity problem, and it has everything. It has very little to do with like Mexico. Although Mexican food does make you fat, but it makes you fat strong. All right, it's a different kind of fat,
exactly.
But because it's cheaper over there to eat fast food than it is to eat home cooked meals, right?
Exactly,
and
in a lot of America too.
Yeah,
capitalism leaks into your diet now.
Yeah, America's main export is not necessarily like people are like, oh, America's main export is drugs, or not drugs, is guns and shit. No, what they make money on is intellectual property and franchisees, right? So it's like shit like Subway.
All over the place.
Yeah,
it's McDonald's
in every country,
all over the globe.
Every single country has a McDonald's in it, right? So like that's a fucking export. It doesn't get counted in the GDP, and it doesn't get counted as like an export, but that's what it is, right? And that
started here.
Yeah, that kind of ugly shit.
The fact that it can be cheaper to buy Coke than water in a lot of places.
Yeah, and it's safer to drink, which is more fucked up.
Yeah, safer to drink soda than water, and fucking not like the sugar is doing anyone any good.
Just the fact that like the most powerful country on earth still doesn't have like guaranteed clean drinking water to everyone, to me is like one of the biggest like roadblocks I have. Still is like, why like what?
Okay, first off, like, why did you assume that we're the most powerful country on earth when Vietnam kicked our ass? Vietnam is the most powerful country on earth.
True. Yeah.
All right. You want to talk
in terms of like? No, I mean, absolutely.
I didn't even think about that.
Dude, no, I'm referring to a prayer.
Honestly, yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, like, how do we keep that title?
We lost to Vietnam. How did we do that?
Rice farmers kicked our ass, bro.
So I'm doing
holy shit.
I'm writing a video on PragerU, and one thing they bring up is like Vietnam, and it's a whole thing of like, look, so many things went wrong, and it was just like, yeah, man, no, like, I mean, push people into a corner enough, and like they'll do you.
They'll bite back.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like people all the time talk about America's number one, and I'm like, how? And they're like, well, we have the strongest military. I'm like, bro, we got beat down by Vietnam.
We spend the most on military, but it's probably not the strongest.
Yeah, we're losing Iraq and Afghanistan, bro. Like we're not winning. We haven't won a war since World War II, bro. Like that was the last one. Right?
I mean, Korea is still at a stalemate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We didn't even win Korea. Like,
it's all just. But I mean, Biden promised that by 9/11 we're gonna have 0 American military presence in Afghanistan, dude. Well, the previous administration made an agreement with the Taliban, which was May 2021, and because the Taliban is like the organization that holds like. I mean, they hold the monopoly on violence, while like the Afghani government is what like the UN and like internationally recognized as the ruling party. However, like the Taliban is the one who like owns the monopoly on violence. They make the rules, and the discussion is like made between like all three parties, like the U.S., Afghani government, and the Taliban, except like. Now the Taliban has responded to Joe Biden's announcement of like, we're gonna have everyone out by 9/11, and he was like, no, you're gonna do it by May. And I was like, ooh,
yeah, no, so seeing like the Taliban, like the Taliban, how it functions within the Afghani government is actually really interesting because that's essentially what QAnoners believe is the deep state. That's like an actual how a deep state actually works.
Yeah.
Whereas like so there is like when people say deep state, they automatically assume it's the QAnon version of it, but they're not thinking about where the term deep state comes from, which is it's a Turkish concept, right? And deep state literally means that there is a frontal state organization that exists for the UN for appearances, right? That people vote for, and that's essentially those are power. That's power, but it's not real power. It's like media power. It's what you believe to be power. The actual real power is usually some form of what are those called? not mafia, but organized crime. Yeah, organized crime. And so the Taliban is essentially organized crime in that they raise funds by having poppy fields full of heroin. They control trade routes. They do all this shit. And I'm not saying any of that shit is bad. In fact, I'm a believer of narco-communism. Under fucking, like, we almost achieved it in South America. Like, the Sandinistas literally almost sold enough cocaine to make everyone in America fucking a drug addict, and then achieve their own communist utopia. And then the CIA got involved and was like, yeah, we're not doing this shit no more.
Organized crime is just government without the country backing it. It's like the same shit.
Well, organized crime is just the people. It's essentially, this is what I get hella mad about, like, MLs. I'm like, if you want to talk about fucking the means of production, you guys should start backing the mob, right? Like, you guys should start organized crime, because there's no more better way to seize the means of production than by doing it through fucking organized crime. Right? But you're not doing that, so shut up. Right?
That's the big kind of like state, like the idea of like a state. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's just it's just like the entity in your community that monopolizes or legitimizes like the use of violence. Like, they are the ones who, like, it's okay for them to use force, and they're the ones who, like, make the rule. It's not necessarily like the people, like, sitting at the UN table, but they're the ones who like the arbiters of ultimately of violence or the legitimate use of force. But I mean, it's kind of like, if you want, like, that kind of real change, is like, you need some sort of like state. However, like, it needs to be more of like I don't know. For me, it's like ultimately a democratic
so
coalition.
I mean, I'm not telling you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't by no way and means do this. But if you happen to be selling drugs, right? If you happen to be a dope dealer, just selling, whether it's just weed or something heavier, and you want to figure out what to do with all your money, buy real estate. I'm not telling you buy real estate because it's a good fucking investment. I'm telling you because that's how you launder it, right?
Yeah.
And this is how you actually take the means of production. You start hooking up your homies with real estate. You start telling them, hey, you live here now, and you take care of this property, and when I need to fucking borrow against it, I'm going to contact you. You're going to rent it from me, but I'm not going to charge you any rent. Right? On paper, I charge you rent, but I don't actually charge you rent.
Genius.
Right? And this is literally this is how you do it. And then by then, you start literally being able to take over old neighborhoods that have been completely decimated by fucking, capitalism and the movement of capitalism. And you can start buying up neighborhoods and generating wealth, intergenerational wealth. And that's, you're doing that outside of the state.
This is an anime.
Dude, that's fucking genius.
I'm just saying.
I would watch this. I would watch this to the end. All 15 seasons. I'm serious. This is genius.
That's not. I mean, this is not advice. It's not illegal advice. It's fucking bad legal advice. Don't ever do anything like that.
It's illegal advice, actually.
Yeah, it's highly illegal advice.
It's really illegal, but like, But
I mean, if you really want
really big.
If you really want to implement some form of, like, if you want to seize the means of production, that's how you do it, right? That is literally, you begin owning that, because land is the ultimate land is the ultimate commodity under capitalism. Because
property,
they don't make any more of it. It is, well, not
that's
anymore.
like the only scarce, like,
Musk
real scarce resource is land. Like, everything else you can figure it out.
Time.
Yeah, time's scarce too.
So once you have, and land continues to grow in equity, right? It continues to be worth things. So you can launder your money through land ownership, but you don't necessarily have to own it.
Buy land in Montana. That's my thing.
Dude, I think Montana's the move.
I think it's the move. They just legalized weed this year.
Yeah.
They're north enough where climate change, like, they're gonna be all right. And I feel like when people start, like, moving up, like, they're gonna move it, like, kind of like the top of Wyoming. That's kind of the edge of where people are gonna be moving.
Oh, yeah, they're moving to, like, Colorado shit.
Yeah,
like,
Montana's gonna be good during climate change. They got weed now. Like, go to Montana. Cheap housing.
I'm too brown.
No, man, that's the thing. What's the opposite of gentrification? You do that to Montana.
Yeah, exactly.
Gentrify Montana.
With degentrify Montana.
I mean, Montana's like rural, but
I'm gonna homify Montana.
Homify Montana.
Let's go. Let's go homify then. Are we gonna buy land? Are we gonna do this land communal thing?
No, I'm gonna do what Donald Trump failed to do. I'm gonna move to Greenland.
I'm gonna buy Greenland,
man. Because no, hear me out, man. That 2031 fucking like climate change, that like 2 degrees like warmer ocean, the fucking middle of the world is just scorched, and Greenland's like a tropical metropolis now, an island,
Kyle,
Caribbean island energy.
You're sitting on the beach.
This is my big
Greenland.
conspiracy: is that Russia's in on like creating climate change as much as possible, because the Siberian wasteland might become usable land when the temperature rises.
I'm calling it now, and it's gonna go on record a million times. But I mean, Marco, so now you hear it. Mm-hmm. I guarantee it, dude. As like my ultimate fun conspiracy theory, which I'm not gonna like fully back, but I think is fun. Straight up, climate change is set up because there's a mile of ice covering the second largest landmass and thus oil deposit on Earth, and it's Antarctica. And I'm absolutely I'm confident, man, that the next war, like the next big global conflict, is going to be
Antarctica.
Who gets the rest of it? Because there's one chunk that's still no one owns it, and the U.S. was going to own it. Soviet Union said no, and then everyone else said neither of you can own it. No fair. But Norway owns like half of it. Australia owns like another third of it. But it's like, man, when that melts, when that mile of ice is gone, it's just like, this is like the second biggest landmass. Like, there's a lot of untapped goodies under here. Like, so I'm just saying, I'm sussed out. I want to move to Antarctica, but I think it's going to be a war zone. So I think Greenland's my move.
For me, the ultimate homie move, if I had $10 billion tomorrow, right?
Coke.
First thing.
$10 billion of cocaine.
$10 billion.
So much cocaine.
That's my Bitcoin, dude. Cocaine is my Bitcoin.
Cocaine's real, man.
It only goes up in value, and it's real.
Cocaine, please sponsor us.
yeah. Can we get a big Coke?
Big
Coke. Cocaine makes you smile.
If I had $10 billion tomorrow, the first thing I would do is I would buy myself an offshore oil rig. I would not drill any oil, but I would create that offshore oil rig, and I would put as many fucking solar arrays as I could on that motherfucker, and I would put it somewhere north and kind of cold, and I would do my best to put as many greenhouses on that shit as possible. Yeah. Then literally open invite with only one requirement: you got to come and work for a year.
Yeah,
stay as long as you want, but you sign up for a year. You're here for a year. You're living with the homies for a year. Right, you can go home if you want as soon as you're done, but I don't think you will.
How much does an abandoned oil rig cost?
Those motherfuckers cost like at least like $300-900 million, something stupid like that.
Fuck, buy an oil rig.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
we got it. This is gonna be a big GoFundMe.
I'm taking the Kojima route of like, you know what I mean? Like, you guys play Metal Gear Solid 5?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to create a mother base, but it's the homie base.
Yes, dude. Right? That's a move. That's the move, man.
Homies without borders.
How do they build those?
Homies without borders.
Hey, it's us, the diamond homies.
Yeah,
but does anyone know how they build those? The oil rigs in the middle of the ocean? That seems like,
bro, you just drop them in.
You do?
Like Pacific Rim, dude. Pacific Rim. They build the giant robots in the base, and then it's like, I want every fucking helicopter down by Hong Kong right now. Pull that shit out of there.
When they're standing up, if they're in the middle of the ocean, how many like miles down does the like foundation go? I have no idea.
It's like giant collapsible drills that go all the way down. But no, Micah, they're absolutely massive. It's gargantuan how like a lot of this stuff is kind of, dude, what the fuck is up with my game? Is
your camera
unreal.
looks fine, dude.
Well, he's getting brighter for me.
Yeah, but I would start thinking about a homie without borders concept where people are allowed to come through, live however they want, however long. And I think like something that people don't understand about homieism in general, homieism is all about love. But we will knock your fucking teeth out if we have to, right? We don't want to, but that's part of it. You need peace, but be ready for war. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
And I forgot who said it to me, but this opened up my eyes a while ago. I had a homie who's literally from Afghanistan, and his dad and everything. Like, this was like early in the fucking like what is it? early when we first got into Afghanistan, and he was telling me. I asked him like, how many people do you know that are like fighting for the other side? And then he looked at me and he goes, "There's no other fucking side." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Think about it like this." And I can think about it now because you see it on fucking Twitter all the time. He goes, "You got a bunch of motherfuckers coming in with guns and ships and all this shit, and they come into your neighborhood and they knock all your shit over, and you happen to have guns. What are you gonna do about it? You're gonna sit there and take it like a bitch, or you're gonna get up and fucking fight for that? Fight for what you believe in, your home. You're gonna fight for your home." And I said, "Yeah, I never thought of it that way." And he goes, "Yeah, we don't want fucking war, man. But if you come, we're not going to let you take this shit." And I felt like when he said that, it made me realize that, like, the people in a war, the people who are fighting war, especially now, fighting a war against America, they're not fighting us. They're fighting a machine. You know what I'm saying? They're fighting a literal fucking thing that is super massive. They're fighting this giant demonic entity, and they're doing it by any means necessary.
Yeah, dude. Like over in the Middle East, your neighborhood gets destroyed by like an American airstrike. Like what the fuck?
By a guy you've never even seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's
now I
doing
get
it
it.
fucking
Now I
with like
get
a
why
fucking Xbox controller controlling his gun or some shit.
Yeah.
So when everyone's like, "Yeah, we're at war," it's like, no, we're not.
Yeah, we're not.
You're not at war. You're not at war. We're just pressing fucking buttons and bombing people lately.
The people who are at war in America are people in like Kenosha, people in like Minnesota, people who are like, the fucking where in Columbus, Ohio, where they shot that girl. People who are under fucking like Flint, fucking Michigan. People in America are like the hood. The hood is under occupation, right? The neighborhoods are under occupation.
Absolutely.
Middle America, fucking Ruby Ranch. I don't even like those fucking guys, right? They're fucking right wing dickheads.
They're loonies, but
yeah, but they were right to stand up against fucking, the government, the ATF coming through and telling them you can't do. Fuck you guys.
Which one's Ruby Red?
Ruby Red or Ruby Ridge? Ruby Ridge.
They were in Montana as well.
Yes,
I don't know
they
about
were just
that
some
one.
like
With the
cult
I know
or whatever.
what's the other one? The
Waco,
Texas.
Waco. I know Waco. I didn't know about Ruby Ridge though.
Yeah, Ruby
it's
Ridge.
the same kind of thing. I think Waco was Waco inspired by Ruby Ridge, or is it vice versa?
Vice versa. Ruby Ridge. Yeah, Ruby Ridge was before, and then Waco was after. But even the guys in Oregon, who are those guys in
Rajneeshpuram?
I don't know. No, that guy. That guy's not on the list. Some the other ones, they won their case.
Was it those like guys who occupied the fucking
the courthouse,
nature reserve, the courthouse,
yes, nature reserve, and then a courthouse.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't remember who those guys were, but those guys also. It's what they were doing is not necessarily bad. The reason they were doing it was bad, but them struggling against Empire makes them my homie, right? Like that's even though I have nothing in common with these motherfuckers, I root them on for that because I get it, right? They were just trying to do something, right? Like, yeah, fuck with that. I fuck with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bunch of far right extremists who occupied the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, and like on principle, I totally understand it. For the specific cause, I may not agree with, but in terms of like. I mean, you're getting bodied by the government, and eventually it's just one of those things where it's like nowhere becomes safe. Like I mean, what's it called? Where I mean, a state can just take your land and repurpose it for the use of the state if they need to. Like it's that kind of thing. Like you ultimately don't own where you live at the end of the day because like you may own it, but the other guys say. No, we own it, and it's just like okay. I mean,
why I want to go offshore, right? Like
exactly. Like it's a bail. I don't need to. I don't need the hand. Like I'm not trying to be like the next great British Empire. Like I'm just trying to eat and like have exist with my with like the homies. Like I don't need this power. I just want to eat, man. Like literally, that's it.
Yeah. No, that I think that kind of. It's a pipe dream because it won't happen, but that crazier things have happened. So I'm holding out hope. But
there's ghost towns in Colorado. There's a ton of ghost towns in Colorado. I mean, unfortunately, they're like 250,000 for like 5 acres, so it's like not crazy. But like, dude, buy some of those, and then just like, I mean, I know the idea of like a giant border, like a fence, is like kind of not my favorite. But literally set up shop, all self-sustaining. So like if the world just like fenced you out, You can still eat, you still have your power, you still have clean water. And then it's like, as you were saying before, like anyone can come through. Like, you want to come live here? Then sure thing. Like, well, I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a house for you, but we can build a house, and you're gonna have to work for a year. And then guess what? It's like, welcome to the party. Like, there you go.
Yeah,
settle down.
I don't know. I don't know, Mark. Like Kyle, we've been talking about it, here and there every couple of weeks, man. About like the whole like making a whole communal.
Commune, baby. It's my eternal dream.
I'm kind of down with that.
Yeah, and when the government comes through.
Hey, as long as we're self-sufficient and I still have internet, I'm a happy guy.
So, and if you want to go work in Denver, go work in Denver, man. Like, it's whatever. Like, go work in Denver, and go generate your wealth via capitalism if you so feel like it. But at the end of the day, you can always eat here, and you can always take a step back from like the world and focus on yourself and what you want to do to like make yourself feel fulfilled. And then if you want to go out and work, then fucking work. But if you don't have to starve.
Yeah,
like you can still sleep every night. Yeah,
I mean, I think so, you go.
I think like the homey future, the beautiful homey future. If I had the ability to just make it so, right, not a lot of shit would change in the sense of how things were organized, right? It would just be like a big ass neighborhood full of people that took care of each other.
Yeah,
that's it. We don't need to know, and not everyone needs to hang out and hold hands and be friends.
Exactly.
But no one's homeless, because if you need a house, we will have a place for you to stay.
Yep.
Right. You come through. No one's hungry because we're all eating together, and we're all eating together because we're all planting together. Right. So, and that kind of shit. I think that shit is incredibly highly attainable. And I also think that we have to function within the realm of capitalism and how it works currently. And one of the main ways to do that is to monetize your lifestyle. Right. So I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to sell the homies, but the idea would be if I had the equity or the money to buy a small farm and I start farming, I would shoot YouTube videos about how to do it.
Absolutely.
Because and to get that's to garner more people to come and join and jump on, but also to monetize, to make money, to extract wealth from capitalism and put it back in the hands of the homies. Because I get really mad at like Marxist or like MLs that are so anti-capitalist, or even like actually anarchists that I get actually like a lot more anarchists get mad do this, where they're like, I don't want to function within capitalism at all. And I'm like, homie, you have to generate some wealth. Like you have to interface with capitalism, even in a small way, because we can't function without it yet. We will eventually, but right now, it ain't happening.
It would be super cool to have like controlled capitalism, where we have like a cap on stuff, and you can still go make money in any way you want, like that, because that's always been the draw of capitalism in America. Am I right? Is coming here, starting your own business or something, or like for me, making money on my art. That's a good example.
Yeah.
Mike, doing your SoundCloud rapping and stuff.
I think that for capitalism to like be able to perpetuate itself in America, like I do think like we need like a UBI would have to happen, and like they can keep capitalism going for longer if they do that. But just like with the cost of living getting so high and wages being stagnant, it's just like
if it stays deregulated or unregulated, its ultimate evolution will be authoritarianism, because eventually the wealth will be so funneled and so like all the wealth is condensed into a small area that eventually enough people, like the middle class, erodes, and then eventually like you start cutting off more and more people into the lower wealth bracket, that eventually, unfortunately, violence happens and people like start to starve and die, and then they say, no, I'm fucking sick of it. And then eventually it's like, well, I guess the government got to step in. We need to like, the whole private military industry. And it's just like, okay, I need someone to protect my wealth now. And then immediately it just becomes into like a violence game. And so I'm very much for like things need to like, we need to be like on a road to make things better, because like we all like the ultimate stage is like everyone has like very few people have it all. And then they just don't want to give it away. And then the only way to do that is for them to now legitimize the use of their violence.
Well, I don't think it's going to be authoritarianism. I think it's going to be techno-feudalism, right?
Okay,
I think it's going to be different, where it's kind of like you end up working for a major tech company, or this is me because I live in the Bay Area and we're already here where you either work for you either work for Facebook or you don't work at all. You either work for Google or you don't work at all.
Feudalism is a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Feudalism,
Any job you have outside of Google, any job you have outside of like Facebook, because they're the ones that are drawing all the money and paying all the people the actual real salaries. Any job that isn't those major companies directly, you are working tertiary, meaning you work a service job. You work as a Uber driver to get people to work and back and forth. You are a serf, right? You work as
the Starbucks at Google.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, exactly. You work at the McDonald's that everyone from Uber eats at, right? Like you work for, you get what I'm saying? Like you work in a tertiary position where you're outside of the realm. That you're a serf, bro. You're not gonna your $5,000 rent that you have to pay every month, right? And you have to have 3 jobs plus a gig, plus a side gig, like in this gig economy, plus a fucking side hustle and an OF where you're showing your butthole. All of that shit is necessary for you to pay this $5,000. You don't have time to fucking organize, man. You don't got time to think about anything. You don't got time, right? And like that's why I'm in a position where I'm lucky because I have a few hours out of my day every day where I can literally just go outside and garden, right? But even then, my gardening, I'm growing vegetables. I'm not growing them for my family. I'm giving them shits away. When they're grown up, I literally put them in bags and I will go and I will literally just hand them out. I will ask people on Twitter or wherever, hey, do you need some fucking veggies in my area? Let me hook you up. Because what I'm doing is I'm hoping that someone doesn't have to go to the grocery store and spend their money to help, and that's my little way of fighting a little bit against capitalism.
I'm going to derail this conversation a little bit. We can get back to we can get back to the state of the failure of our generation. But what I would like to talk about is how possible is it for me to have to run a garden like on a porch at an apartment?
Homie, incredibly possible. I had my first garden that I ever had was on a porch. All you really need is soil. Herbs do really well. They sell lights, and I hate advertising Amazon, but there's no hydroponic store anymore. But,
so in Boulder, we're like in the Boulder, Colorado area. There's a store called McGuckin's, and they have everything.
Oh, okay, yeah, then yeah.
And where I work, we have a florist, Micah.
There's a lot. Yeah, we have a florist in town. There's like a fucking Jack's Hardware. Yeah, we don't have to go to. We don't have to give Daddy Bezos any money.
Yeah, Lord Bezos. But you can. All you need is grow lights. Grow lights are extremely cheap. They're extremely useful. You can set them for some of them are really like you can get a decent pair for like $22, right? And I don't know if that's gonna break your bank or not, but seeds are cheap. The best thing to grow is herbs because you always grow herbs. My favorite thing to grow and the thing I started out with was basil because for 3 reasons. 1, basil grows incredibly easily, not from seed. Basil from seed is a pain in the ass. Buy it from the store. Buy it as it grows.
Buy the plant.
Yeah, plant that shit and then clone it. Start making more basil and you can start giving basil to your friends, right? For nothing. And you have like
is cloning as simple as just like cutting off like a little
literally
stalk?
Cut it. Hang it in some water for a couple of days, wait for some roots to appear, and as soon as those roots appear, put it in the dirt.
Yeah, I need to start gardening. I live in there's no way I could garden in this apartment. It's tiny and like I don't have a balcony or I don't even have a windowsill. There's nothing.
I got one.
And I have bad light. I don't face like a good direction for light. I do have a closet. My closet's full of clothes. Me and my girlfriend share like a tiny 1-bedroom, and there's just like
you got a roof.
We are gonna I want to go. I'll start gardening. We have to move in with my parents. I'm graduating college.
Just turn that into a grow area.
My car's in the covered garage. I have no sunlight. But what I'm saying is, I do want to like coming up. I do want to start gardening because I love cooking so much, and I would love to have some like fresh.
Growing fresh veggies does not take a lot. Like you just got to really. You have to. I'm positive that in your space you could easily grow 1 herb. Right?
Yeah, I could probably grow an herb. Yeah,
right, and like that's all you have to. That's part of it, right? And then you could start gifting herbs to your friends and shit, and then get them into gardening. And like that's what I mean by like the garden is both a literal metaphor and a like metaphysical
and
metaphor.
Are tied together.
Yes, big time. Like I always tell people, like every time someone talks about like, oh yeah, no, I reconnected with my brother I haven't talked to in a while because he was a cop, but I ended up talking to him and he's talking about he wants to quit the force, and I have homies that talk about that kind of stuff, and I tell them when they say that, I'm like, yo, the garden's growing, bro. It's as simple as that. You're growing the garden. You're putting in the work. You're tilling the earth. You know what I'm saying? You're like putting the seeds in. You're making that shit grow in people. The humanity in people growing. That's what it's all about. The garden, right? And so like, that's what I mean. Like, but the best practice to like understand the world is literally just gardening, right? Like, gardening has brought me personally so much fucking peace and so much like understanding. And your first time gardening is never going to be successful. You're always going to grow something. It's going to die. It might die. You don't know what shit needs, but never feel discouraged, because that's like what gardening is all about, is understanding your place within nature and how much nature depends on you, right? It's not so much that you control nature or you're outside of nature, which is what like a lot of, what is the word that I'm thinking of? Occidental literature and like Occidental thought, right? Which is like Western thought. A lot of thought behind all of that is that, we're separate from nature, or humans are meant to master
we're
nature.
above, like the idea of dominion, basically. Like we're here to be in charge of nature, and that's just not.
No.
Yeah.
Gardening shows you how much nature depends on you personally, but also seeing it grow, seeing the winds, seeing all of like how much you start getting invested into it shows how much nature means to you personally, right? It is a good way to like, even you don't even have to grow veggies, really. Get a houseplant, right? Fucking any kind of greenery makes the garden grow. Right?
I can't believe I've got most of my life without like greenery around, and like I should just change that.
It's really good for your air quality too. Like living in a house with a plant is really good for your air quality. We need plants. Something that makes me so mad is what's happening in Brazil to the rainforest.
Dude, okay, so Marcos, as someone I'm half Brazilian and half Mohawk native, and yeah, no, Micah, exactly what you said. The fucking Amazon is like,
is it gone?
No, well, they're completely
burning
destroying
it to make farms. So we could get beef.
It's insane. It's insane that they're doing it, because
bro, that's our oxygen, but also like, my man, deforest the same amount of land and then just like grow shit on it.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle.
Not fucking raise cattle. What's up?
I heard that the old corrupt person is running against Bolsonaro.
Dilma Rousseff.
That's what my dad said. I don't know if it's them, but my dad said it was like an old corrupt politician who's going against Bolsonaro in the next election.
Oh my god, yeah, because she was impeached. She was the one prior to Bolsonaro, but oh my god,
Bolsonarismo, Bolsonarismo fascism is very fascinating to me from an aesthetic standpoint, because it's extremely homoerotic, despite it also being extremely homophobic.
Wait, I don't know about this. Can you guys? Yeah, it's homoerotic.
I don't know much about it, right? Like, I don't know any kind of. The only vetting I've ever done is like looking at Bolsonaro, hearing him do speeches, like in English translations, and like hearing all this like strongman shit that he talks about, like, I am the, like I'm making Brazil strong, and we're gonna fight the worlds, and that whole strongman shit. It's very machismo, but it's machismo in a way that Mexican machismo is similar, where it's like, Mexican machismo is also extremely gay, but we're okay with it, right? Like, we talk about like, it's cool to kiss the homies, it's cool to be right, it's cool to be kind of like
normal culture.
Yeah, it's whatever. This shit is like extremely homophobic. Like, they just like, no, it's not cool to be gay, but also I'm a man and look at my fucking muscles. Like, it's strange. It is extremely, from an outsider perspective, like seeing it and kind of identifying the machismo of like, Latin America in general, but like not being able to place it for the straight up homophobia, like hardcore. Yeah. Like,
have you? What is it?
Homophobia is a social construct, right? Like, we don't have these problems outside of like our culture.
Wait, homophobia?
My favorite actual fucking quote
is that's like social construct, right?
Yeah. Well, everything's a social construct, but there are gay animals in nature. Like, it is like, it exists in nature. Like, it's a natural thing. Like, there are.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like in certain, like also in some places outside of even just America are like way cooler.
Gender's a social construct too. Like
gender. I mean,
too.
yeah.
Homie Twitter actually has a lot of like ties with like, so I'm This is a weird. We got in a weird topic now, but
cool. Okay.
I'm constantly getting like put into group DMs like gay chats and shit, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, blah blah," and they're like, and I always try to tell them like, "Look, I have sex with men, but I'm not gay," and they don't know how to understand that. Like I guess if you had to put a label on, I'm bisexual, but the reality of it, what it is that I don't identify myself. I'm fucking and sucking. That's the reality of what I'm doing, right? Like there's no real whatever. I'm just down. I'm down. That's what I'm down, right? Mm-hmm. And so that mentality is so bizarre to people.
I wonder, like, that's probably more natural, honestly. Like,
it's also part of your like personality here in America. Like being gay is like, you tie that on as a big part of your personality.
It's like it's so rigid. You're either this or that, and then based on that, you need to act a certain, like everything in this. Yeah.
Yes, because I don't fit in that mold.
Very repressive culture.
I get a lot of weird. People are weirded out by that.
You're queer.
Yeah, they're just like, you're fucking all right. But like when I think about like, for me, homophobia. My favorite how I deal with homophobia, because I do have to deal with it, right? When I tell people, hey, like I also have sex with guys, the first thing they do is they, say some awful shit about me. They'll call me a slur, or you know what I mean. And my favorite thing to do is like, homie, you're actually homophobic. And they're like, yeah, I'm homophobic. And I'm like, how are you afraid of me though? Like, why are you afraid? Like, you're afraid. Homophobia literally means you're terrified.
Did you see the thing
I exist?
It was
you're terrified of my existence.
No,
that's
did you see the thing on Twitter, the homochondriac, where it's like homochondriac, like a hypochondriac, where you always think you're sick. Like you're so afraid of seeing gay things because you think if you see it, you're gonna become gay. It's like the homochondriac, and I think like that's like a lot of homophobia is more like it's not that they're like, because it's not scary. There's nothing scary about two dudes. But like they're afraid that they might not dislike it, I guess, or something.
Let me derail.
Or they're afraid that they will like it.
Let me derail this conversation. Yeah. Like super homophobic people don't want to see gay people kissing because it makes them really uncomfortable. It's just like how out here in America we build structures to fuck over the homeless, so we don't have to look at the homeless.
Yeah,
like the spiky.
Heard about this?
Yeah,
We put spikes on benches. All the benches in Denver. You know why they have all those little holes punched into them?
So they're
you lose body heat really fast, and they get really cold.
Oh, because
all the infrastructure is designed to prevent.
You ever been under an abandoned bridge and you see bike racks get built there?
Yeah, shit. Yeah, no, like I definitely knew that our like architecture is anti-homeless.
They just put that so they can't sleep there.
Yeah.
So we spend.
But that is similar to the same thing with homophobia. With like, I don't want to see it. Like,
instead of spending our money to fix homelessness, we just spend money to hide the homelessness.
Yeah, no, like that money could be reinvested in like, hey, let's like provide like services for homeless people to help them not be homeless anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm like talking over you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're all good. It's just like, why do we spend so much extra money to make it so homeless people can't accept things when you could just spend money to invest in them? It's just stupid.
Yeah,
there's no answer there's no right answer for it. It is ridiculous.
Well, because you don't want them to be on the same socioeconomic plane as you, because you lose the sort of hierarchy.
No, I mean, want him.
Not us. I'm saying like in terms of like the people who like hold the money. It's like when you raise everyone up, it diminishes like your perceived sense of wealth. Is like a underlying part of it. But to answer Marcos's question, with the whole like the how like Brazil's homophobia is like pretty homoerotic, you should watch this, like there's like a Vice like short show that was in 2016 called Gaycation, and they go to Japan, Brazil, the US, and one other place. And it's Elliot Page and like one of the Vice producers go through and interview these people. And dude, his conversation with fucking Bolsonaro is so
Wait, Elliot
surreal.
Page talks to Bolsonaro in it?
Yes, yeah. So Elliot Page at the time was known as Ellen Page and was presenting as a gay female. And her, at the time, her conversation with Bolsonaro is so bizarre. The way that like he talks to Elliot, it's just like I mean, like stuff he talks about. He's like, so like have you seen the meme like, why are you gay?
Yeah,
Have you seen that meme? It's the same shit. It's the same. And it's like, you're a very attractive woman. You could easily get any guy you want. Why are you gay? And it's just like, look at all these handsome like men that you could. And I'm like, what? Bolsonaro? Like, why aren't you chasing these handsome men, my guy?
Yeah, like what?
It's so foreign to him. It's so foreign to him.
This comes from this comes from, I think, right? Like, I think like the hyper rigidity of sexuality in general, and like it really does come from the fact that people are uncomfortable with pleasure. Right? There's like a puritanical, it's an American concept that has completely fucking now coded the entire. It's another main export of America, is this puritanical concept of pleasure is bad, right? Pleasure without procreation is bad, right? So like this, because it's excessive, and anything that is, I mean, it goes back to like, I don't know if you guys read what's his name, I can't. Bataille, George Bataille, the French. He's not even a philosopher. He just writes smut and fan fiction. But like it's smut fan fiction, but it has philosophical underpinnings. Anything. One of the things he talks about in the solar anus, right, is the idea of the sun. I know this is gonna sound, but sun worship and the sun as the ultimate excess, right, and that's why people tend to like see this sun, like worship the sun as this form of like, you know, like it's the ultimate, it gives everything to us, and the moon is evil because it takes that shit away, it takes that shine away from us. And the sun itself is just it's an expelling, it's literally just expelling energy. He called it a solar anus, like literally just shitting on us constantly, and we're marred in the shit, and we don't want to accept.
We're like, yes,
yeah. And it's because there has to be purpose. Because if there's no purpose, then we're uncomfortable, right? And we're so uncomfortable, even pleasurable things like sitting in the sunshine we feel bad. So we have to make up all of these stories about a sun god or something, right? Something that we have to worship and give praise to, because we can't just accept that things feel good, right? And like
man,
yeah, he's a trip to read. But I think about like, homophobia comes from a place of the inability to accept parts of yourself that recognize, because in all honesty, the things it's weird to me, right? Like, I find men attractive when they look like women, right? When they're feminine men. I find the femininity in them attractive. The masculinity in them isn't unattractive to me. It doesn't make them ugly to me, but it's not something that's my deal. But I can see femininity within them, and then that's what ultimately drives the desire within me. A long time ago, I decided to stop making the differentiating like decision between male and female, and just saying, hey, I find this particular set of things attractive.
Yes.
And as soon as I did that, it opened up a whole world for me where I was no longer, it made me beautiful. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but it literally made me find myself more attractive, give myself confidence, able to talk to women and men and people that I was interested in. And it really stripped away the bullshit of all these like preconceived notions of what I thought this person was about. And I was able to approach people and be like, hey, look, I think you're gorgeous, or I think you're beautiful. Let's get some dinner and talk about it. You know what I mean? Saying like that, really, it saved me from incelery, because I was this close to being a fucking incel.
Oh no.
Right? Like, I got a lot of incel interest, right? Like, but it that stripping away of like,
I think that like something behind that, and something that I think is like a big problem with our society, is just how black and white thinking. It's either one way or the other way and nothing in between. And that like falls into, I think it slips into pretty much everything in society. Is like things are so rigid, and I think almost everything's a spectrum. Like
absolutely, yeah. And it's like, what's the like? It's really funny, like how limiting it is, because I mean, just like take away the barrier, and it's like, in the grand scheme of things, like nothing has changed. Like literally, like you haven't changed, they haven't changed. Nothing is like, you have not shifted, the scales and altered the fabric of like society. You just like opened up more options, which is
for
like
myself, personally, yeah,
exactly, and ultimately helps yourself. and it's like it makes you feel so much
being true to yourself and just not letting like society tell you what you need to be. And
it's just like, why is that a problem?
Society pushes it pushes us all down, and it wants us to like fit into its box to basically produce money. Basically,
that capitalism makes us competitive in all aspects, right? We are constantly competing, right? America is like hyper capitalism. It's hyper capitalism, where it's so saturated within our culture that we are constantly competing. We're constantly competing for, against each other for women. We're constantly competing. That's why like people are off put by the fact that I have sex with men. When I'm uncomfortable by not being called gay, but like by being presenting as gay, because it's not real to me. That's not what I am. I present as a man. I'm a dude. I'm a regular guy. Yeah. So for me to present as something that I'm not, I understand why some people do it, but for some people it's like a competition. No, I'm gayer than you. Like, no, I'm actually straighter than you. I look straighter than you, so I'm passing in this way, right? Like, it's crazy to me, right? It like the trans community deals with this all the time. I have a lot of trans homies that are like, actually trans Twitter and homie Twitter, very much same vibe all the time. We're always on the same, talking about the same shit all the time. This idea of like, there's a whole lot of different ways to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to be is to not compete with someone else. Run your own race.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And once you get to that point in your life where you're running your own race, other people will start to either see you as you are running your own race and start measuring you by the metrics that, you should be measured by, the success rate of how you measure success versus how they measure themselves. And they start seeing you as a person. I think that like Bolsonaro not being able to see Elliot Page, who at the time was Ellen Page, like as a human, as a woman that was like a normal woman, is endemic to the fact that Bolsonaro can't see himself as a person, because in his mind, success is measured by how attractive he perceives himself to be, and he doesn't perceive himself to be very attractive. So he's constantly pushing it out, right? Saying it's about other things, saying it's
projection.
Yeah, it's projection. It's a constant form of projection. And I think like, there's all of most of humanity's problems could literally just be easily fixed by having people realize that all of their preconceived notions of the way things are meant to be are extremely new, right? Like everything that we're going through right now has been established probably in 1930, right? Like that's when everything kind of, right? And everything
tone.
Fucking deodorant wasn't around until the 60s, bro.
That's crazy. I'm really like, it's so weird because we don't live in a world without deodorant, but it must have been crazy different. But real quick, I wanted to say on the Bolsonaro thing is, he'd probably be way happier if he sucked a dick.
Oh yeah, big time.
Like
big time.
Dude is like, I mean, the fact that the whole thing is, if the previous regime had to kill 30,000 people, like if we have to kill 30,000 people to continue our on our path to greatness, whatever, then we'll do it. And I'm like, what? Yeah, go suck a dick. Like literally, like chill, like chill for a sec. Like,
oh man, it probably make him feel better about himself. He just has to do it and like be like, it's okay.
Should people like Bolsonaro, like people like Bolsonaro who think like him when it comes to like homophobia, should we just give them psychedelics?
No,
because it could make
you have to like all gardening, right? This goes always back to gardening. Like
it's about the fruit it bears, huh?
Yeah, it takes work.
Yeah,
right. If you want to fucking grow, if you want to like grow if you want to change a lot of preconceived notions, you got to plant a lot of seeds. You got to till the earth for a real long time. You got to approach somebody with kindness and love. And radical kindness and radical love. Not the kind of like, hey man, I'm here if you want it. It's kind of like, no bitch, I'm here. And I love your bitch ass. And that's the way it is. You can't get away from this. I love you, right? I'm hugging your ass until you love me back. And either you love me back or we're just going to be fucking hugging forever. It's your choice, right? That kind of radical love, that kind of radical work. That's what homieism is all about, is putting that first, right? It's seeing someone who automatically hates you and choosing love. Right, just instantly being like, no, love is more important. Instantly, and I don't care if you don't love me back. I love you, and I'm gonna make decisions about that love, and I'm gonna do my best to instill that love in you. Or,
that's beautiful.
I might just be a little stoned, right? But my mind's jumping to Attack on Titan right now. Like that's like these are themes that have been like deep in my brain for like the last month because I've been watching it all.
My homie got me
on
One Piece.
Yeah,
and that's if homieism had a show, that's what it would be. It would be One Piece.
It would be One Piece.
I'm like curious
boat.
about One Piece and like kind of want to check it out, but it's so like I don't want to commit to
a lot of content.
Yeah, it's like too much. Like it's really intimidating.
You could literally just put it on, right?
Oh yeah, just a background show.
You could just pick it up.
I'll just do it. I'll fucking just put it on background show while I'm playing video games or some shit.
What I love about it is that Luffy literally will like. There's parts in it where Luffy like literally gets his ass beat by somebody, and he gets up and smiles, and he's like, "I guess we're friends now." That shit is. That energy is so sick.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess like now that you've gotten all your anger out, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I guess let's talk about it. And like that kind of shit is so tight to me. But yeah, I'm way into One Piece now.
What are your favorite what's your favorite TV show?
Currently, so I've been watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Recently got into that. I'm on an anime kick. So normally I was not really into anime growing up, and I'm like finally rediscovering anime as a 30-year-old man, which is the tightest way to be to get it. It's the tightest time to get an anime because I understand all the plots now. But I've been watching anime. I tried watching Them, right? My girlfriend liked that, or tried to watch that show. Yeah, have you seen it? It's an Amazon.
I've not seen Them though.
It's an Amazon show about like black people moving into Compton for the first time, like while it was still a white neighborhood, and like it was such a. I had like this weird like psychic dissonance where because the show is about real depictions of actual racism that black people had to go through moving to Compton, but it's also about ghosts and supernatural shit making white people act the fool. So I was trying to decide if the show was either racism is real and makes black people crazy, that makes sense, or racism is a supernatural occurrence that only affects white people. I don't know what the show was trying to tell me, and I was really bothered by it. And my girlfriend's watching with me. She's like, dude, it's not that serious. Shut up. Like, dude, shut up. And I'm like, no. And then I saw on Twitter some like LA Times disc like writer is writing like, is racism real? Like and he's talking about that show. So I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of fucked up shit where it does trick. I feel like it tricks a certain kind of white person into thinking racism is actually supernatural. It's yeah. So I was not a fan of the show, but it's a fun watch if you feel like fucking just making yourself go crazy. And that's
dude. Watch Attack on Titan, man. Oh, dude.
What was it called again, dude? Sorry.
Them, THEM. Yeah, it's an Amazon show.
Sweet TY.
Oh, I'm trying to think of any other shows that I watch. No, I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of fucking YouTube.
I do too.
What kind of YouTube do you watch?
So I'm a huge fan of Elder Scrolls lore. Right. So I watch a lot of fucking Elder Scroll lore videos. I go to those actually. Like, those are my favorite things to pony up and go to sleep to. There's a guy named Blame It on Jorge. He does a lot of like conspiracy videos and lost media videos, but not like.
Oh, I know. Blame It on Jorge.
Yeah.
Lost media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, his are good. You should see. Let me find it for you.
His shit is good. What's the other guy? Frederick Knudsen.
Let me know.
Let
me know. He does like he talks about conspiracies. That's why he's
Frederick Knudsen. Yeah, he also does the Into the Rabbit Hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that kind of shit.
I need to check this out.
It's good shit. A lot of like internet historian shit. I just love. I watch some PragerU videos, but to laugh.
Oh, dude. When PragerU puts out a new one,
it's a banger.
I like sit down and just be like, hey, 5 minutes, man, 5 minutes. And it's just always like, are white people evil? And I'm just like, it's like, what was Vietnam a bad idea?
So one one of my pet projects when I first started doing podcasts, because I've had like 20 podcasts before the AinterShow actually took off, and none of them are actually available anywhere. They all live on a hard drive somewhere. But one of the podcasts that I was doing, and it was the most successful, the one that I almost actually released before anything else. And what I was doing was I was watching right-wing movies and right-wing media and finding a lot of like left shit inspiration out of them. And I was trying to like Starship Troopers, for instance. Starship Troopers, everyone talks about how it's like a fascist utopia, like it's a fascist movie about like how fascism works. The reality of it is it's actually like a socialist utopia, but on the bug side, right? Like the bugs achieve fucking actual space travel with literally zero technology. That shit is impressive. Right, like, so anyways, we were talking that was what we were doing. We were going into like how the right-wing depictions of, you know, right-wing media actually are far more socialist than half the time like actual socialist media.
100%.
Yeah.
The best one is PragerU videos on Scandinavia. They're like, the left talks about, oh, we want Scandinavia socialism. They mean Venezuela. And then it's just like, actually, Scandinavia is super capitalist. And it's like, well, then can we have some of those super capitalist safety nets? And they're like, no, that's socialism. And you're like,
are white people bad?
And then there's a lot of underlying racism within the Scandinavian or the more, I guess, Nordic ideology. But dude, it's so funny. It's so good because they're like, no, it's capitalism.
I love hood movies too. Like I'm a huge I love hood movies because every single hood movie is a fucking great, like, it's a great understanding of like that capitalist hellscape. It's like a great understanding of history that never happened, if that makes any sense. Like one of my favorite movies of all time is New Jack City with Wesley Snipes, Ice-T. I can't remember the next couple guys in it, but it's a fucking solid movie. If you ever get a chance to watch it. But it's about like the drug trade, how cocaine turned into crack cocaine, and it's about Wesley Snipes taking over a building called the Carter, and it inspired Lil Wayne's The Carter album from that movie title. Like literally, that movie is hella influential, and there's so much fucking history that goes into that movie, but none of that shit happened in real life, which is crazy because that movie inspired so many fucking things. It's once again, it's hyperstition, where a movie that something that didn't exist was then made existing through a hood movie, which you don't see shit like that all the time. So I love movies like that. Another good one is Bullet with Tupac. Tupac's in that movie. It's one of his last movies. Is Tupac and Mickey Rourke in a very early role. It's called Bullet, 1996. That's a fucking rare movie to find. If you find it, hold on to that shit. That shit is hard to find. Blood In, Blood Out is a great example. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's you can watch that shit on YouTube tonight if you feel like it. But it's like it's the most Mexican movie to have ever been made, ever. It's the most like Mexican American movie I've ever seen, and it's gorgeous. It is entirely what being Mexican American. Like there's so many fucking experiences in there that are just like real. But on top of that, it's also like extremely gay. There's a lot of like homophobia and racism and all this ugly shit in it that's just funny now, right? Like because of how over the top it is. It's a 3-hour movie, and it's like weirdly, it's so like it's like a proto homie movie. There's so much about like anti-prison. It's like prison abolishment. It's sick. You gotta watch the movie. It's a sick ass movie.
I'm writing these all down.
Yeah, I pulled them all up.
Yeah, sick movies.
I want to check out Blood In, Blood Out.
Yeah, I want to do on the Discord. We have a Discord, and we do like one of the homies on the Discord, Tetra. She does like movie nights where we all get together, and they usually sometimes we'll just watch things like we watched Paris is Burning a while ago. We were watching RuPaul's Drag Race. I got them to watch this movie called When Blackbirds Fly by Jimmy Screamer Claus. Literally the worst movie ever made, easily, hands down. And I met the director in real life, and he's just as bad as he is. Like I know him. Like I literally know him. He's terrible. Anyways, I
what
was like,
that called?
When Blackbirds Fly, you could rent it for $3 on YouTube today. Like it's so bad. Don't pay money to this fucking guy though. Steal it if you can. Right? Do not give this man money. Right? He's terrible. But anyways, we watch movies in the Discord, and one of the things that I want to get everyone, but it's a huge commitment, is Blood In, Blood Out. It's a 3-hour movie. You're sitting there for 3 hours. You're not doing nothing else.
Yeah.
But if I end up watching it, yeah, you guys are invited. You guys come through, watch the movie.
Ooh, absolutely, man. That's tight.
Yeah.
That's what my girlfriend and I do. I just go through and I find movies, and then talk to a few people, download a few programs, get it for free, and watch big movies a lot. So I'm like very interested in this, man. I'm like a big movie buff, so you've piqued my interest pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm a big movie buff as well.
And we all like movies.
I don't watch
it's
movies
Lula.
that much.
Lula's the guy who's a Brazilian politician coming back to. Coming back.
Who is it?
He got confirmed in April 2021 that all of his political rights have been restored after via Brazil's 2018 clean slate law, after all of the fucking money laundering that he did in the Workers' Party via. And I'm listening to this and I'm
no, dude. So it's lose.
I mean, yeah, man. The leftist party in Brazil is fucked. They are very, very much raise the taxes, but they stay here. And they're very corrupt. And then the other side of the coin, which understandably everyone votes for the other guys next year. Oh, they're just fascists. And it's just like, well, you can't win. I'm sorry. And I can still vote because I'm a citizen. And it's just like, I just look at this and I'm like, I don't feel like I should, meanwhile, I don't feel like I should.
Have you?
Well, no, because I don't live there. So it's not really.
Do you have to live there to vote?
No, you have to be a citizen.
You could vote as like, that happens in America too, like, right?
Yeah,
like,
I go to the embassy and I can I've gotten the ballot for it, and you have to like fill it in, you got to mail it in. Takes like 6 weeks though, so.
Kyle, doesn't America want you to not be a dual citizen?
Absolutely, yes. It's bad because when it comes to war, I have to choose, and neither side can make me choose.
But like, is there any like way that they try to like get you to like back out of it? Is there anything you have to do to hold your dual citizenship?
If they draft me.
Oh.
So if they draft me, I can go to prison, and I relinquish my right to Social Security. I relinquish my right to vote. I relinquish my right to own a firearm. And
if Brazil drafts you?
No, if the U.S. drafts me and I draft dodge and I say no, because serving in the armed forces of a country relinquishes your citizenship of any other country because there's no other alliances. Yeah. So if either side were to draft me, I mean, I'd dodge. I'm sorry. I'm not a war guy. But like, if I had to choose, I would give up my Brazilian citizenship because my life is in America. However, like I don't feel like it's my place to vote because I don't live there and I'm not personally affected by their policies.
I mean, so, we all kind of are actually with what's going on in the rainforest, but
yeah. I mean, I think about it, but I mean, my choices right now are like some really corrupt on the left, and then literal will kill 30,000 people if we have to. Fashion.
Who are the 30,000 people they're killing?
Gay people.
Gay people.
Yeah. So Brazil has Rio de Janeiro, where my family's from, has the highest murder rate of the entire LGBT community. Like gay people, trans people is
not to mention
unreal.
Indigenous people in the favelas, dark-skinned people.
Oh, like racism here is real, and I'm not going to downplay American racism.
Brazilian racism on next level. Yeah, no, I know.
Colorism. Like if you're like too dark skinned and you're Portuguese heritage, man, like straight fucking Mediterranean European, no man, you're like one of them. Like
colorism is everywhere. And Eurocentrism fucking like seeped into every part of the world through colonialism, basically.
Dude, like Catholicism is like word of law. Like you can't hold up. You're not supposed to eat meat on Fridays as like a diehard Catholic, but fish is okay. Just not like other meats. In Brazil, most like churrascarias are closed on like the big, like those, they have the stick with the beef on it and they cut it for you. those are closed on Fridays. And it's like, what if I'm not a Catholic? Can I still eat? No. And it's like a whole like religion part of the state. Dude, gay people, like being like, LGBTQ in Brazil is like a no. Do
they not like the current Pope? Because he's like a little more friendly.
Huge strifes with the Pope. And then colorism is, like Brazil, Rio's like what, the most dangerous city in the world. Like people die, like people are dying at a consistent rate, like continuously. And their murder rate for people of color, indigenous people, like you said, poor minorities in the favelas, like up like on the northern coastline. And anyone who's dark skinned, anyone who right now the biggest one is trans people, with like trans coming out as like a more visible thing. And like Carnival exists, and it's like a
Carnival
huge,
is like super like eccentric and like
extremely gay.
It's super gay.
It's a very gay thing.
It doesn't make any sense why they're so mad about it. But the thing is, like, with you have that huge like queer presence in Carnival and like representation, and then with now like this increased visibility of specifically now trans people, it gives people like more confidence and to like come out and like express themselves. But in Brazil, like here, you might get like harassed by some right winger on Facebook, and someone might fucking like egg your house or like threat. And trans violence still happens. Yeah, exactly. It's still violence still happens here. In Brazil, it's just murder. Like they kidnap people and they just kill them and they just like throw them somewhere and that's it. And the police are complicit. That's the thing, is like police brutality in America is terrible. Police brutality in Brazil, police kill 3 times as many civilians per capita than here. Like they kill. Like
are they the worst in the world?
They are the worst. Yes.
That's why. So
it's a fucked place.
I have a joke that I say on my Twitter constantly all the time, where I'm always talking about Reconquista, which is like Latin peoples have all over the world just have to recolonize, but Europe, like we go to Europe and do what they did to us. We just go and just take all our shit back and then like, fucking have sex with our women because we're gorgeous and beautiful. And we go over there, right? And then like, then we just like, we become part of the populace. And then like, we like a pan-Latino world where everyone is Latino, is considered Latino or Latino, whatever, like that whole thing. And I'm like, everyone's invited. I'm like, Brazil's on watch though.
100%.
You guys can come, but we're watching you guys. We don't, because I know how fucked up Brazil is. Like, I have a lot of Brazilian friends that are straight up just racist. They're like
so many German last names.
What is there like a big Nazi presence in Brazil?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because of Argentina.
That's where they all like went. Because
dude, I know so many people like members who are not family. I'm sorry, not like family friends. German last names, dude, and you wonder how the fuck did you get that? And these people are like like darker skin, not like light skinned, but still not like a white person, like what you would consider a white person. But straight up, man, they got German ass last names, and it's everywhere, and you don't think about it. But oh, dude, like, anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
if you're not Catholic, it's like
don't let that distract from the fact that last week when Mike was over, someone dropped their toddler down the concrete stairs at my apartment.
What?
Oh yeah, that was the story we're gonna go enter. So like, I don't know. I've been like super socially isolated during the pandemic. I got my first vaccine like 2 weeks ago, which is nice.
You're the first one in the group to get COVID.
No, I'm not. No, but I went over to Kendall's house, and I'm like, because I'm in my last semester of college right now, and I was just I'm like, I need to interact with somebody, and I went over there, and I'm like, all right, fine. I decided I'm gonna go, and then like I'm there for like an hour maybe. Yeah. We smoked a little weed, and then we just hear bang, 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 and then just screams, like children just screaming.
Like and women too, like
and women screaming.
There was like 8 people screaming.
Yeah, so like this family was there, and their daughter, she must have, I think she fell down the stairs, and she like hit her head, and like we could just like hear the mom was just like screaming for help, and like took like I don't know how long it was. There might have been a little time dilation between like how long it took for like help to get there, but it was like a very traumatic experience to like.
Yeah, that sounds horrific.
Yeah, like
we were just having a chill day.
And
we
like
just smoked some
we
weed.
like could see out the balcony, like the mom was just like pacing around holding this kid who's just like bleeding from their head, and
Jesus.
Yeah. It was
is that kid all right?
No, I thought someone like got shot and died because the screaming was that bad. Like they were screaming like someone died. Which I
think
thought
it was like a toddler too, like, and it fell like down the stairs. So
yeah, I mean, well, someone could have very well have died, right? Like that is within the realm of possibility, especially for a toddler. Like, yo, I understand fully screaming, like losing your mind. My neighbors next door are meth heads.
Yeah,
and they have a dog. And I think this was a while ago. I don't know if they have that dog anymore, but I think that dog got into some of their shit.
Yeah.
And so it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I wake up to just meth.
The dog was high on the meth.
So I don't know what happened, but I wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I just hear like screaming, like the loudest scream ever. And my room is like right in there, like it's their backyard. My room is there, like right next to their backyard. And I just hear screaming, and then I hear the guy being like, "I'm gonna give it CPR. I'm gonna give him CPR." And I'm thinking to myself, like, fuck, somebody is dying. Here's the thing: I don't call the cops ever, right? I don't care if someone shoots someone in front of me. I'm not calling the police. It is a prison thing that my dad taught me. You just don't call the cops, right?
It's legitimately like a scary thing you have to weigh out.
I don't do it.
Kind of like going back to what happened with that kid. What I was thinking, I'm like I'm not gonna call the police. If they call the police, they call it. But like the medical bills that this could do to like, and it was like a big family of like 8 people living in an apartment, and it's like the medical bills of that ambulance coming and taking that kid. I'm like,
so with $4,000 ambulance rides here in Colorado.
Yeah, not to mention like, you know, CPS getting involved, because why, you know what I'm saying? Like they love to do that shit to people who live, to broke people. They're like, oh, why are 8 people living here? Right? Like they love that shit. They love just snatching kids away from you know, people. And like, so anyways, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm listening, and I'm like, put my ear to the fence. I go outside, get my fucking shoes on, go outside, and I'm like, put my ear to the fence, because I'm like, someone's gonna die. And I'm like, I know CPR. Like I know, so I just pipe up. I go, hey, I know CPR. I know CPR. And then say, come over here. So I run over there. It's their dog. Their dog is stiff and
Cranked, man. Just
I don't know. I looked at him like, look, dog. Like I know how to do CPR. I don't know what to do.
You don't know how to do it on
like,
a dog.
I don't feel comfortable. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable I don't even know how to approach this. I'm like, look, I'm gonna go back home. I'm sorry that I got involved.
oh.
It's like I don't know what to do here. So I went back at home, and I just like took a melatonin and went to sleep. But
that was like when
do you know if the dog survives?
When a fight.
I haven't seen it, but I hope it's okay.
I don't know if you haven't seen it. It probably isn't.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's like when a fight broke out at this same apartment.
Oh my fucking God, that was rich.
Well, didn't they hit someone with a car?
Oh yeah. So have I told this on the podcast before?
I don't know, but it's okay. You can repeat stories. Who cares?
Yeah. It was like, so it's like 2 a.m. Me and one of my roommates, we were just smoking weed and watching a movie. I can't remember what we were watching. And then we hear this altercation outside, and I let it go on for like 5 minutes, but they kept getting louder and louder and louder. Mm-hmm. You know, so I go outside. There's a minivan sitting, like it's still on. Driver door is open out in their parking lot. And there's this like one dude arguing with like 4 chicks, and there's also like 4 dudes there, but the dudes are all just like chilling by themselves talking. Mm-hmm. And all the women are like screaming at him, and they're like, you know, I wish I knew Spanish. I really do. Because a lot of this wasn't Spanish. So it was like Spanish, bitch, Spanish, bitch, motherfucker. Mm-hmm. I'll fucking kill you, Spanish, bitch. You know, and it's getting louder. And then
the guy pushes a girl.
Mhm.
And a fight just breaks out, a huge brawl.
Yeah.
Men are hitting men are hitting women are hitting men, women are hitting women. It was all over the place, and they like knock each other on the ground, and it was just crazy, like seeing two dudes swinging, and then he'd like lightly push a woman, and she'd like fly like fucking far.
Jesus,
but like I parked perfectly that night because it was far away from them because they were like hitting the cars and stuff.
Yeah, that shit happens. It's just I'm of the belief, and I stand by this.
Mm-hmm.
If I was mayor of my city tomorrow, the first thing I would legalize is fist fights. Fist fights in the street are legal, right? It's how we keep the streets safe because if people aren't worried. Yeah, people aren't worried about catching. You know what I mean? Like getting caught up by the cops. I'm sure people would mind
worry about getting their ass beat.
Yeah, exactly. People will way be worried and they be on their P's and Q's.
Dude,
you know what I'm saying?
That is distribution of like the state's monopoly on violence to the people. That is like the socialization of the state's monopoly on violence is exactly that.
Yeah,
that is
legal.
Yes,
it's a decriminalization, meaning that cops come and they'll referentiate, meaning making sure no one pulls out anything crazy, right? If the cops do come, they come through and be like, all right, look. No guns and no.
They break up the fight.
Yeah, but they don't arrest anybody.
No.
They just go home, right?
They just referee, dude.
Yeah. Seriously, yes.
No, this guy wins. This guy wins.
Don't hurt each other too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why
they all have whistles, to stop the match.
Yeah, battery is a separate charge. Like you always hear assault and battery or assault, but like battery is just unconsensual physical touch. So like if you like push someone, like the dude, like I don't know if you guys saw the video of the Marine guy who pushed the black kid in the neighborhood or whatever. It's like, I mean, he didn't like, beat the shit out of him, but it was battery. It was unwanted, unconsensual physical contact. And absolutely, like what you never hear is assault without the battery, but that's a real thing. Where it's like a consensual altercation.
A consensual. All right, let's do.
You can get assault without battery if you consent. If two people consent to fight, do they both get assault?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to press charges though, don't you?
No, the state can press charges.
Oh, the state press charges.
Why? It's not. We should just make that legal.
Consensual assault.
Consensual fight. You agree to a fight, and you don't hurt each other too bad.
Yeah, it's straight up like
it's different in Ireland. I watched this.
Yeah, we gotta go, dude.
I watched this YouTube video in Ireland where like that's kind of more normal to duke it out. Actually, it was insane. These guys got into a fight over a parking spot, and what they did is like there was like a group of people that all knew these two dudes, and they're like punching away, and they're all arguing and yelling at each other. But like one kind of stumbles, like, "All right, break it up.
Yeah.
All right, take a 30-second break. We're getting back in the next round." It was insane.
Yeah, no, I'm fully on board with that idea.
Like they broke up, right? Like they broke up the fight, and one of the fighters is like, "Hey, man, you need some water," to the other fighter. Like,
I'm telling you, like nothing makes you. I'm not kidding you. Nothing makes you friendlier than getting your ass.
In a good fight.
Yeah, like
in a good fight.
Yeah, straight up. Oh, I think actually I gotta end this because I realized that my girlfriend is outside like an animal.
Oh, gotcha.
You were all good, man. No, we went a little over. It was just it was a great time having long.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. That was a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed meeting you.
Always, brother. It's actually really fun. All of you have an open invite on the Ain't Shit Show. Anytime you're free and want a pod, come through.
We're legit. If you want, all three of us will come.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah. Send me your Discord. I want to check the.
Yes.
We'll keep that shit
out. All right, thank you so much, Morgan. Is there anything you want to pimp just at the end?
Oh yeah. So, like I said at the beginning, you can listen to my podcast, The Ain't Shit Show. I'm on Spotify. I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on Apple Podcast. We try to upload every single Sunday. I have a Twitter account called AinterShow, AinterShow. Give me a follow. I'm super friendly. I love to interact with people. I love to DM people. Open invite to pretty much anyone. They can come through on the pod and hang out. So, yeah, that's it.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
AllChat episode 25. Thank you.
Adios.